Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. Perfect, any? Mass movement means when there are when common people also get involved into a movement. Good morning, good morning, good morning. We'll wait for 2-3 minutes and then we'll begin. We will start from Chauri Chaura only. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. We'll wait 1 more minute and then we'll begin. Good morning. Okay. Bhardwaj, technically, he was a part of the INC for a very long time. Formally joining, we will say that it's only in the 1925-26 period, not before that. Initially, he wasn't involved, that we know. So he was a leader who went beyond the INC itself. Okay. So today's agenda is very straightforward. We have to traverse these 7 years. And we stopped yesterday at Chauri Chaura. So when we stopped at Chauri Chaura, we discussed how the non-cooperation movement was stopped. And we have to take a story from Chauri Chaura to the famous Lahore session, 1929, Purna Swaraj resolution. And we'll discuss the basic topics today are going to be, we will start with what is called Swarajist, no changers. Thereafter, we'll go to discuss revolutionaries, and we'll do part 2. Basically, today we have a discussion on the HSRA, the HRA, and Bhagat Singh, and we'll discuss Saunders murder and Lahore conspiracy case. Thereafter, we'll move to the concept of dominion status, Simon Commission, Nehru report, and 14 points of Jinnah. And we'll stop most probably at Irwin the Pavlari Declaration plus Lahore session, which is going to deal with the concept of Purna Swaraj. We'll do previous year questions also. So again, a lot of small topics we have to discuss. Rather, we will see how what type of questions have come till this point out of the previous years, and our major focus is going to be on these areas for today. So if everybody is here, can we start our discussion for today? Yes? Yes, very good. Perfect. So as always, I'll give you the basic timeline, what we cover today. And there are again two timelines which we will traverse systematically. First, we'll reach the first timeline, and then we'll start the second timeline. When we'll talk about Bhagat Singh, we will be discussing something interesting vis-a-vis. I have a specific book. It's called The Trial of Bhagat Singh. It's a book by A.G. Nurani. You don't have to buy it. There are certain sections which are quite interesting. I'll give you again, as I told you, in my own PhD coursework, Lahore conspiracy case was a case study. So I'll give you certain aspects of the trial itself which you have generally no idea and you will not find it in standard books, so that you have a better understanding of generally the HSRA and Bhagat Singh in that regard. How did he get caught? The concept of the emergency provisions, and we'll discuss everything. What was his basic idea of getting arrested after the legislative bombing? So we'll discuss everything, and I'll try to add something new for your understanding vis-a-vis what you find in standard books in that regard. So there are two basic timelines we are going to cover today. One is going to be the INC one, and the other one is going to be the revolutionaries one, and it is going to cut off in between only. So you have two timelines which we cover. We start at 1922, and thereafter, this is a little bit early. Okay. Then we go to September, then November 1923, then February 1924. From February 1924, we'll go to October 1924, to thereafter November 1924, then 1925, 1927, 1928, and then 1929. And the other timeline cuts off from October of 1924, then August 1925, the September 1928, then December 1928, thereafter 8th April 1929, then December 1929, and this story actually ends by 1931, but we will just discuss the story till December 1929. So this is the story of the revolutionaries phase 2. This is going to be the story of the INC. So Chauri Chaura has happened in February only. Chauri Chaura, NCM suspended. Now hereafter there will be a lot of questions which will come into the Indian National Congress. What to do now that the non-cooperation movement has been stopped? And therein lies a new trend which is called Swarajist No Changes, which I'll tell you what it means. But the Gaya session is considered very, very important over defeat of the Swarajist agenda. Then on 1st January, C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru are going to form the Swarajist party. That is why the name Swarajist itself. Then by September, there will be a compromise between Swarajists and no changers. Don't worry about the words. I'll tell you who is a no changer, who is a Swarajist. Thereafter, by November of 1923, there will be elections which will be fought by the Swarajists. February of 1924, Gandhi will be released from jail. He was imprisoned for 6 years in 1922. Thereafter, October of 1924 will be governmental repression. That will be followed by November of 1924, Gandhi endorsing Swarajists. By 1925, generally the Swarajists will start to weaken themselves. By 1927, Simon Commission. 1928, Nehru Report. And 1929, 14 points of Jinnah. On the other spectrum, by October of 1924, the HRA is formed, Hindustan Republican Army. By August of 1925, they do what is called the Kakori robbery. They do the Kakori robbery, 8 down train. However, thereafter, the government is going to go after the Kakori, or rather the HRA, quite a lot. So, in September of 1924, HSRA will be formed with now Chandrasekhar Azad and Bhagat Singh in the ranks of the HSRA. By December of 1928, they will do what is called Saunders assassination. By 8th April 1929, the very famous central legislative bombing, symbolic bombing which was done. Thereafter, by December of 1929, Azad will try to derail the train of the Viceroy. However, by 1931, the Lahore conspiracy case and hanging Bhagat Singh will be martyred because of the Lahore conspiracy case. We'll discuss the second timeline equally in detail as much as the first one. The Kakori is a place. This is the basic thing which we are going to discuss. One, which is going to be the revolutionaries. Second is going to be the INC story. So I'm going to start with the Swarajist no changes and we'll go on till Jinnah 14 points. And then we'll shift to the HRA, the HSRA, legislative bombing, Saunders murder, and Lahore conspiracy case. And then we'll go to previous year questions. So basic idea, agenda clear, right? That we can go on like this. First, the INC story, and then the story of the revolutionaries. Yes? Okay, perfect. So let's start our first discussion. Chauri Chaura has now December 1929. Chandrasekhar Azad is going to try to derail the train of the Viceroy, Irwin. Okay, Chauri Chaura, which was the burning of 22 policemen in the Chauri Chaura sector or in Chauri Chaura town by the mob which was fired upon was taken as a truce by Gandhi, and as it is, the non-cooperation movement was not going anywhere between 2 years, between 1920 and 22. Therefore, non-cooperation movement is going to be stopped. So as soon as Chauri Chaura happens, non-cooperation movement is stopped. So this is going to create a major issue, wherein there will be two types of responses. One is that there will be disillusionment. Disillusionment. Disillusionment in the Gandhian method, and second is that a lot of revolutionaries who initially believed in Gandhi, they will actually give up on Gandhi. So therefore, revolutionaries will stop believing in Gandhi and resume their struggle via revolutionary activities. So basically, if you look at it, both the timelines are actually a product of the same story. Because both were disillusioned by Gandhi. So the killing of 22 policemen, wherein he's taken a truce so as to avoid another Jallianwala Bagh, this is going to be in the rank and file of the INC, and this is going to be under the revolutionaries. So both the timelines, the formation, disillusion means that you stop believing in that regard, that there was an illusion called that we will get Swaraj within 1 year, and that breaks Maya as it is called, and therefore disillusionment is that breaking of that illusion or Maya, that we can't go anywhere, we can't actually get anything out of this movement, and Gandhi will every time stop the movement anytime any violence is going to happen. So people will question Gandhi's resolve and Gandhi's method quite a lot at this point of time. And that is why when he was in jail, people did not give a lot of heed. 6 years he was jailed for what he had done generally, because the British had to create a scapegoat. Scapegoat was Gandhi. Gandhi was ready to go get jailed for what happened in Chauri Chaura by saying that I enticed the people, so you arrest me. So the disillusionment of the Gandhian methodology and the revolutionaries are both related to the same moment in which everybody is going to be bewildered or is going to be surprised. Why did it happen in such a way? All 22 were British officers. So there's a difference between the two. This is in the Congress. It is in the Indian National Congress. The revolutionaries who are doing their what is called individual heroistic acts, which is assassinations, they had stopped everything. Between 1920 to 22, nothing happened because revolutionaries also joined the non-cooperation movement. Now the revolutionaries don't want to actually be a part of the non-cooperation or even be part of the standard national movement vis-a-vis this INC-based struggle. Constitutional struggle was not something which they ever accepted, and mass movement they technically lost interest in because of what Gandhi generally did. Because violence was something which should not have just stopped the non-cooperation, but non-cooperation was stopped because non-cooperation was not going anywhere. So please understand this point, that both are products of the same basic point, which is disillusionment by Gandhian method in the National Congress, and revolutionaries also losing interest in Gandhian methodology because they believe that that is not going to take you anywhere. Now, the Swarajist no changers were also a product of this first process, which is the Indian National Congress part. The Indian National Congress part. Now, please understand one thing. That as it is, Chauri Chaura, if it did not even happen, The main issue of the non-cooperation movement was what? What was the main issue? The non-cooperation had something inbuilt into it. Khilafat. Very good. So, very simply, non-cooperation movement was based on the pretext of Khilafat. So, for example, if Chauri Chaura never happened, then what? The point was that Gandhi could see one more thing, which is that the Khilafat issue was also diluting itself, because the issue was that Khalifa should be protected, Khalifa should be protected. However, in Turkey, there will be a new secular revolution, and under Mustafa Kemal Pasha, sometimes only called Mustafa Kemal, what is going to happen is Turkey is going to become a secular state, and the caliphate is going to be, and the Khalifa or the caliphate is going to be actually abolished. So when the caliphate is abolished, in a way, the core issue was to protect the Khalifa. But the same country is going to destroy the caliphate itself. So the problem was that non-cooperation could not go anywhere generally, because Khilafat was also diluting. So this disillusionment may be very, very temporary for people to question Gandhi, but Gandhi could actually see that the movement could not go anywhere generally, be it the truce of Chauri Chaura, or the fact that Khilafat itself was diluting itself. So what I'm trying to argue here is that either way, Chauri Chaura was going to happen or not happen, non-cooperation movement was as it is not going anywhere generally, because of the way the politics of the world was panning out. So now the disillusionment has set in. Indian National Congress is now going to question the resolve of Gandhi. Now I'm entering the zone of what we call as Swarajist no changes. Everybody is with me till this point. You understand what is the bewilderment, what is the disillusionment, and generally why non-cooperation was going to fail as it is. Yes? Okay. Now under NCM, there was a very important clause. And that clause was that we will boycott the legislative councils and assemblies. This was what was first resisted also, that we will boycott legislative councils and assemblies. Now, the point was that the INC was not contesting these seats because of the INC, because of the non-cooperation movement itself. However, as soon as Chauri Chaura happens, the question was that how long should we not contest? And this question was asked by C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru, father of Jawaharlal Nehru. They said that how long we should not contest. Now tell me one thing, if the INC was not fighting these seats, were people still getting elected to the legislative council and assemblies? Yes. If INC is not going to fight, someone else is going to fight. Simple point of the matter is British are going to hold the election irrespective of anything. So if one party is not going to fight, it doesn't mean that the other parties will not fight. So the issue was that because INC was not contesting elections, the councils and the assemblies were getting filled up by By loyalists. Because if you have the audacity to fight an election outside the INC and even when the non-cooperation movement is on, most probably you are a loyalist. You're a loyalist to the British. You believe in the British, and there are still people who still believe in the British. Now, if I was a third party observer, for example, I was America, and America says that there is no democracy in India, so the British would say, see, we have our legislative assembly and councils, and see, people are contesting and they are also becoming a part of it. So for the British, the Government of India Act 1919 was working perfect. The governmental machinery was working in its way, and it was able to do whatever it wanted to do, even when the INC was not contesting. Now, this is the point which C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru make, which is that if we keep on boycotting the legislative councils and assemblies, the British will keep on stuffing the legislative council and assemblies with loyalists, and therefore there will be an illusion that the government of India is working perfect. People of India are getting representation also, and legislative assemblies are working to the highest capacity. So in a way, the British can prove to the world that India democracy we have introduced. So C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru concept was that if we are boycotting councils, it's not doing anything. As it is, Gandhi is in jail. Non-cooperation movement has been called off. So the point was that by December of 1922, they will ask a question. They will say, we should stop the boycott and contest the elections. And their idea was that by contesting the elections, what we will do is we will create a new front. We will enter the councils and disrupt the governmental work. And this is what is called the Swarajist argument. They argued that we should either end or mend the legislative councils, and more than that, let us use these legislative councils as a new front. We can't let the British have their own machinery work in the best way possible. So the Swarajists actually are making sense that ways, that if we don't contest, someone else contests. And if we don't contest, the British are able to use the machinery very, very well. Let us fill the Legislative Assembly and Council with Indians who oppose British rule, and then let us just bring the whole machinery to a grinding halt. We will not let them pass any paper. We will not let them pass any of the acts. We will disrupt. And more than that, if you are going to scream in the parliament, or if you're going to scream in the legislative assembly, the press coverage is also very, very good. So this way, the revolutionary spirit of the people, the spirit of nationalism will not die out. So Swarajists in that sense are saying, let us remove the boycott of legislative councils and enter the legislative councils to create a new front of nationalism. Are we clear with regards to the concept of Swarajists? What are they arguing? Yes? Okay. Raj, camera is turned down. You should be able to see. Very simply, see, if you need to understand, I'll tell you no changers and then automatically Swarajist you will understand better. This was one faction. This was one faction. The other faction are called no changers. For example, Rajendra Prasad, Vallabhbhai Patel, Gandhian leaders. No changers say no. We should not stop the boycott of legislative councils, and let us concentrate on Gandhian constructive work, which is we should prepare the people, we should create more ashrams so that we can launch a civil disobedience movement, which was not possible in NCM. Because they believe that if you will enter the councils, you will be drunk with power, and therefore your understanding of nationalism will get corrupted. So please understand, and now going to write both of them together. The non-cooperation movement has asked for boycott of council. Anybody has any issue here? It said boycott of council. Yes or no? Yes, that there is no issue here, that NCM said boycott the councils itself. Very good. But sir, Indians are in minority. No. Ilma, they are not in minority in Central Legislative Assembly or in the Provincial Legislative Assembly. They are in minority only in Executive Council, not in Legislative Council. So, NCM says boycott of council. Now, the non-cooperation movement has stopped. So, the question is, should we still continue boycott of council? The no changers and the Swarajists are two factions. The Swarajists say that we should end the boycott and enter the councils, remove the loyalists, and more than that, most important, disrupt the working of government and create a new front and keep nationalism alive. Because if everybody is going to go out of the picture, then what is going to happen? No changers. But why did NCM say boycott? Because that was one of the programs of the non-cooperation movement. Do not cooperate by not entering the non-cooperate. Do not cooperate by not entering the councils. That is a standard thing. Now, no changers. Thereafter, no changers. They believe no, we should not enter councils. It will undercut Gandhian method, constructive work, and that constructive work should be followed by the concept of get ready for civil disobedience, power in councils will corrupt nationalism. That you will yourself become a loyalist. Now, is this making sense? That the non-cooperation says boycott of council. Swarajists say that we should enter the council, remove the loyalists, and work to disrupt the government, create a new front, keep nationalism alive. No changers say no, we will stay with Gandhian methodology. We will not enter councils. We will do constructive work, get ready for civil disobedience. And we know that power of the councils is going to corrupt nationalism. You will yourself become a loyalist. Simple point is, do you understand the two streams? Who is better, who is not better? I'll tell you that. That is not the point here. Are you understanding the major difference in approach? Because it's Siban, if they had to pass something, they would pass it through the veto or the viceroy's own veto, which he could do if the act gets defeated in the Legislative Council. So I get your point, how Government of India Act 1919 is passed. Government of India 1919 is not passed in India. It comes from London and then is only ratified here. So that's a separate issue altogether. Are we clear? They have ordinances also. That's a separate issue altogether. Are we getting the point of Swarajist no changes? You have to be more vocal. You have to tell me this, because there is who is better, who's not better. That's a separate issue altogether. The simple point of the matter is, what is the argument should be clear. Yes, no, whatever you tell me, I'll repeat, but you have to tell me if is it making sense or not. It's not difficult. Non-cooperation says boycott of council. Swarajist say let us enter. No changes say do not enter. That's in the end of it. That's it. No changes. That is why no changes. Don't change the approach. Swarajist, because they're named after the Swaraj party itself. So very simply, I've repeated now 4 times. Same thing. Non-cooperation, boycott of council. Swarajists say we will enter, we will create a new front. No changes will say do not enter, you will get corrupted, you will become loyalists, and therefore constructive work is what we want to do for civil disobedience. Can I move forward? These are not two parties. No changes are within the INC itself. Swarajist is a separate party itself. Both are members of the INC. I'm going to come to that. First, understand the concept. Then I will tell you what INC, which INC, not INC. Can I move forward? Okay. Vishnu, frame your question better. I'm not understanding what you're trying to ask. What, sir, did any point loyalists will fight the... You're trying to say, did any point loyalists fought the freedom struggle? No. Which faction is higher majority? Obviously, then no changes. I'm coming to that. That fact I'm coming to. What is the dynamism is a separate issue altogether. As of right now, it's about understanding the ideology. Now, December of 1922, these Swarajists, specifically, C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru, push in a resolution. It's called the Gaya session. In the Gaya session of the Indian National Congress, C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru will push a resolution for the adoption of the Swarajist agenda in the INC. However, the Swarajists agenda will get defeated. So in a way, the no changers at this point of time are more than the Swarajists. That is obvious, because the INC does not believe that moving to what Gandhi did not say should be avoided. Basically, if he said boycott of council, let us go with boycott of council. Now, out of this frustration, on 1st January 1923, C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru, the two most important, what we call as Swarajists, Motilal Nehru, they will resign. From the INC. C.R. Das was the president, Motilal Nehru was the secretary. Both will resign, and they will form a new party, which is called the Swarajya Party. And that is why the word Swarajist comes from here, the party which they started, the Swarajya Party. And now there's a basic struggle or tussle between the Swarajists and no changers, that should the Swarajya Party contest elections separately, or will they be accommodated within the INC? Some of you asked me who is correct, no changers or Swarajist. The answer to that question is both are equally important. But Swarajists actually have a point wherein if you do not in a way allow for the British to see, what I mean to say is that if you are not allowing the British this luxury, then it is better. Because very simply, if you will not disrupt the work, if government of India works in its best way possible and they are still boycotting councils, it will only show a picture that everybody in India consents to be part of the British rule. How can we show to the people that these councils are nothing but an eyewash, that these councils are just but a drama, that hierarchy doesn't work? Swarajya Party has a point here, because if you go by the no changers, if today I say, listen to me, today I say I can change India, but I don't want to contest for elections itself, then what's the point itself? If I'm saying this line that I have the power to change India, if I become a member of the parliament, I will change India itself. I have such technology, I can change everything. But I don't want to contest only. Then what is the point of saying the first line itself? So if the INC will say that we are the ones who represent India, and you are not contesting elections itself and basically not part of the legislative mechanism, then doesn't it defeat the purpose of the INC itself? Because revolutionaries are doing what they are doing. The INC has a very important role in making sure that governmental work is disrupted. Please understand this point. Constructive work is good, but constructive work will mean everybody retreats back into constructive work. So then people will think that the national movement is over, that nobody is fighting nothing. So how do you tell the people that no, we are fighting, but now we are fighting within the government? That is what Motilal Nehru and C.R. Das are actually arguing. So in a way, the conservative approach is of the no changers, wherein they are saying, no, we are comfortable in where we are. We don't want to create a new front because we believe that that power will corrupt you also. Political engagement is something we don't want to do. But C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru are saying, if we don't engage with the British on their own turf, then what is the point? Are you getting my point? Are you getting the logic of the Swarajists? Why are they frustrated when the Gaya session happens and their agenda is defeated? So the contestation of councils means both Imperial Legislative Council and Provincial Legislative Assemblies, meaning all places where Indians could enter. If the INC does not go, understand one thing very clearly. If the INC does not fight, it doesn't mean that no one else is fighting. The British will just stuff loyalists into all the major positions and it will seem like everything is working perfect. That is the image which C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru want to change, which is to show that no, it is not working. If you call Swarajists power hungry, then you have a distorted vision of nationalism itself. For some reason, that is the problem. If they are saying that they are wanting to fight elections, don't think of them like modern day MPs, that they are fighting elections because they are power hungry. No changes, I'll give you the names. Try to understand this. You have your opinion, that is your prerogative. The simple point of the matter is, INC is in a tussle right now. That should we contest, should we not contest? Is this point clear? Because you can call them power hungry, that is your prerogative. That is not my point. Simple point is, in their historical role, they are trying to change something. They are trying to push the INC to become politically active again. That is it. They cannot be called extremists. They, again, don't use these terms. When I'm saying they're called Swarajis, then why will you call them extremists? So, very simple point is, British are making the government of India work in the best way possible by stuffing loyalists into the system. The Swarajists say that we want to disrupt that. It's not difficult. That is a very simple point they're trying to make. We need to create a new front. You don't agree or disagree with them, that's a separate issue altogether. That is not what we are discussing here. Okay. What was the probability that they will win? That is the point, Amrit. You tell me. If C.R. Das, Motilal Nehru, Jawaharlal Nehru, for example, Subhash Chandra Bose, Vallabhbhai Patel, Rajendra Prasad, if they will contest elections, will they win the election or not? You tell me. The people associate themselves with these leaders. That is what is happening right now. Because these people are not contesting, they are choosing whatever they can choose. So understand this point. You have made a very good point. What is the probability of winning? They will win. The question is, should they contest or not? It's a principle based issue. Understand it. It's an issue of principle, that should they contest or not. So in Gaya session, C.R. Das, Motilal Nehru say the Indian National Congress should open a new front by contesting the elections itself. Thereafter, the agenda will get defeated and the INC will pass a no changer type resolution that we will go for Gandhian constructive work. Rajendra Prasad, Vallabhbhai Patel, all these members embody no changers. Hereafter, on 1st January 1923, C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru are going to, out of frustration, leave the INC or resign from their positions from the INC and find a new party, Swarajya Party. Now, the point was that between January and September 1923, there's a major question which is now in front of the INC. Should we expel C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru, or should we keep the Swarajists within the INC fold itself? Now, both parties approached Gandhi. Both parties approached Gandhi. The no changers went and said that, see what is happening. You are alive and people are leaving your basic resolve. So Gandhi was approached by no changers also. Motilal Nehru met with Gandhi also and said that, see, this is the point. We are not power hungry. We are not trying to get power. We are trying to disrupt governmental work. This is the logic of our proposal. In a very cunning way or in a very Gandhi-like fashion, he did not support neither. He did not say to the no changers that you are right, and he did not say to the Swarajists that you are wrong. Gandhi, between January to September 1923, will be ambivalent, will be ambiguous. His position was not known. Now, what happens is that it could be very easy for the no changers to remove the Swarajists. However, the Swarajists knew and the no changers also knew that if the INC split up, like Surat split, the INC will become redundant in itself. See, because everybody looks up to the INC could not show a certain image that they are fighting amongst themselves only. Because if they show to the British that they are fighting, then the British is winning in a way. So between January and September 1923, there's a major question: should the Swarajists be removed? Should not they be allowed on the symbol of the INC? Should we just remove them from the INC generally? And in September, they will come to a compromise. And understanding their historical role itself, both sides will agree that we can't allow the Congress to split at this point of time in 1923. So the compromise was Swarajists can fight the elections from within the Congress. So they can be considered a specific group within the Congress, but they don't need to split up and become a separate party itself. Now, no changers say that we will do what we want to do. You will contest elections. And the elections were coming in November of 1923. When the Swarajists will actually contest elections, there will be a major push to Indian nationalism, because Swarajists win most of the positions left, right, and center. And in November of 1923, you could see that the Swarajes the people associated themselves with, and basically the Congress image was helping them winning the elections also. Gandhi is still silent. Gandhi is still silent. Gandhi will not say anything because he could see that Swarajes also have a point and no changes also have a point. So the point is Gandhi was not into take sides. I'll tell you the performance of the Swarajes later, but we need to understand when does Gandhi support the Swarajes. Now what happens is that in February of 1924, Gandhi will be released from the jail on health grounds. So he had only been in jail for 2 years, 6 years was the sentencing, but the British could see that he'll kill himself in the jail itself and then will be burnt alive. So they released Gandhi on the ground that he was losing his health quite a lot in the jail itself. He was released in February of 1924. Now, as soon as he is released, again the question is going to come. Now the question is going to come that should Gandhi support the Swarajists and their agenda? Till October, he will again not say anything. But in October of 1924, there's an ordinance which will be passed by the British. And that ordinance will be passed against the fact that if the Viceroy wants, he does not need to take the legislature into consideration. And in 1924, there will be an ordinance which is going to lead to proper raiding of the Congress offices. A lot of revolutionaries will get arrested. A lot of Congress leaders, their houses will be ransacked. There will be raiding. There will be proper British repression against the Congress leaders. And now Gandhi understood the point of the Swarajists, that if we allow the British to use legislature or law as a form of justifying their rule in India, then there's no point. And that is why it is only after the governmental repression of 1924, October, that in November of 1924, Gandhi will endorse the Swarajists. And now he will say to the no changers also, you also go and contest elections. And thereafter, there will come a point that in all major cities, from Vallabhbhai Patel to Vittalbhai Patel to Jawaharlal Nehru to Motilal Nehru to Subhash Chandra Bose to C.R. Das to Motilal Nehru, all of them were controlling the corporations, all of them were controlling the municipal corporations, and the Swarajists will literally disrupt all bills and all the machinery and bring the whole legislative machinery to a halt. So in a way, Swarajists were right, and Gandhi will realize it only after repression of October of 1924. And the Swarajists will also, in a way, be true to what they wanted to do, which is to disrupt the whole process within the Legislative Assembly itself. Legislative Assembly, Legislative Council. Gandhi will never fight elections himself. That is not his style of politics. The simple point of the matter is, by November of 1922, Gandhi's hand was on the head of the Swarajists. Are we clear with regards to this basic story? Because then I'll repeat it through the PPT. Yes? Okay. So, very simply, contest elections, do not contest elections within the Congress itself. Thereafter, Gandhi will not say anything. They will start to perform well. February, he will be released. October, the governmental repression. November, he will be brought back. He'll be brought back. Basically, Gandhi will say, Swarajist, I endorse you. He will be released on early See, the British understood Gandhi's position. Gandhi was in the jail 2 years, became very, very ill. So they released him on health grounds. This used to happen. Yes, later even no changes will turn into Swarajists. Yes, because Gandhi will say that go play, why not? Why governmental repression? You tell me, why would the government do repression? The British would be thrilled that there are Swarajists and no changes. Obviously not. The British will find any instance to do repression. That's a separate issue altogether. Okay. So let's do one thing. Let's read it out of the basic slide, and I hope everybody is getting 50, 60, 70% of the story for sure. I want everybody's assertion here. Basic idea should be clear. It is one of the easiest areas. There's nothing here. Contest, don't contest. No, 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 no. Then yes, 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 yes. That is the basic point here. Okay. Now, for anybody who has a little bit of gap, please pay attention to what is written, and it should be totally fine. Preeti, I'll tell you the repression. Everything is written. Listen to me. Repression is governmental repression. Everybody is going to go after everybody. Okay. Now, in the aftermath of Chauri Chaura, there were leaders who remained firmly behind Gandhi, but disillusionment also broke away. Motilal Nehru and Siya Das were going to form the Swaraj Party and reject Gandhi's leadership generally. The Ali brothers also became very fierce critics of how Gandhi was not, how Gandhi actually took back the non-cooperation. In March of 1922, Gandhi was arrested and sentenced to jail for 6 years. So the central theme of the NCM was also dissipating, because by 1922, Turkey rose under Mustafa Kemal and became, very simply, they became a secular state, and the caliphate was abolished properly by 1924. They will have a modern education system, modern agriculture industries. Turkey will start to modernize itself. So we know that Khilafat as it is was going to dissipate by 1924. Now, there are two factions which will develop within the Congress. One section will say, Siya Das, Motilal Nehru, Ajmal Khan, that they wanted to end the boycott of legislative councils so that the nationalists could enter them and expose the basic weaknesses of the assemblies and use these councils as an arena of political struggle to arouse popular enthusiasm. They wanted, in their words, end or mend these councils. If the government did not respond to the nationalist demands, they would obstruct the working of these councils. Those who advocated this is called the Swarajists. On the other hand, you have the other faction which wanted to do constructive work, led by Vallabhbhai Patel, Rajendra Prasad, Rajaji, which is Raja Gopalachari, M.A. Ansari. They are called together No Changes. No Changes opposed council entry, advocated concentration of constructive work, continuation of boycott and non-cooperation, and quiet preparation for the resumption of the CDM or the civil disobedience movement. This is the two factions. These are two factions which they are fighting against. Now, the friction first will manifest itself in the Gaya session, which is Gaya session of 1922. There will be a difference between the Swarajists and the No Changes. Swarajist agenda will get defeated. So therefore, on 1st January 1923, Siya Das and Motilal Nehru will resign from the presidentship and secretaryship of the Congress and announce that they are forming a new party with again Siya Das as president and Motilal Nehru as one of the secretaries. Now, this party, which will be formed, has a very simple and straightforward agenda. This is the Swarajist argument, and that is a very important argument which they're trying to make generally. That the Swarajists are arguing that they wanted to enter the council for a very simple reason. They said that entering the councils won't negate the non-cooperation program. In fact, it would carry the movement forward only to a new front. Entry of the nationalists would deter the government from stuffing the councils with undesirable elements who provide legitimacy to the governmental measures. Their only intention was to use these councils as an arena of political struggle. There was no intention of using these councils for a gradual transformation of colonial rule. So a lot of you have been questioning these Swarajists. They straightforward say that we don't want to use it as a form of legislative change or gradual change. We just want to enter through the councils and create it as a political arena. That is it. That is it. The undesirable element should be the loyalists. That is it. So, Swarajist is clear, right? Everybody. Swarajist argument is clear. Okay, perfect. Now, The no changers on the other hand, argued that parliament work would negate constructive work, loss of revolutionary zeal and political corruption. Constructive work would prepare everyone for the next phase of civil disobedience. The no changers, whose effective head was Gandhiji, even though he was in jail, argued for the continuation of full program of boycott and non-cooperation. It was technically not possible. That is the basic point. They are still in a way uh, in an illusion. They're in an illusion that somehow we can take the movement forward when the non-cooperation movement itself is over. When the non-cooperation agenda is over, then what is the point itself? So the compromise is going to be that both sides were in touch with Gandhi and wanted to avoid something which happened in Surat, which is the Surat split. Both sides understood the significance of putting a united front in front of the people as a mass movement against the government itself. And both sides wanted Gandhi's leadership to unite everyone. Keeping in mind the historical role of the INC, in a Delhi meeting in September of 1923, Swarajists were allowed to contest elections as a group within the Congress, and the elections to the newly constituted Central Legislative Assembly and to provincial assemblies were to be held in November of 1923. Now, when does Gandhi's attitude change? Gandhi initially opposed the entry into councils generally. In February, he will be released on health grounds, and he moved towards reconciling with the Swarajists so that the public opposition to this council entry could be in a way counterproductive. Now, on 25th October 1924, government will promulgate an ordinance under which raids will be conducted on Congress offices, house searches, arrest a large number of revolutionaries, Swarajists, other congressmen, including Subhash Chandra Bose, two Swarajist members of the Bengal legislature, Anil Baran Roy, and even S.C. Mitra. All will get arrested. They will be tortured. They will be harassed. And this will anger Gandhi, and he will express his solidarity with the Swarajists by surrendering to their wishes. On November of 1924, Gandhi brought this no changer versus Swarajist issue to an end by having a joint statement with Motilal Nehru and C.R. Das, saying that the Congress is going to endorse the Swarajist program, and Gandhi approves of it. And thereafter, this decision will be in a way endorsed in the Belgaum session, which is going to happen in 1925. And therefore, Swarajists will now be a majority within the Central Working Committee or the Congress Working Committee. Now, just to show you what was the performance of the Swarajists, don't have to learn this. The Swarajists will manage to win 42 out of the 101 seats which were there in the central provincial, in the central provinces, and they will. This is basically in the Central Legislative Assembly. Thereafter, clear majority in central provinces. Largest party in Bengal, did quite well in Bombay and UP, but in Madras and Punjab, they will not be able to. In Central Legislative Assembly, because they had 42 out of 101, how many seats less do they have for full majority? 42 out of 104, 101. How many seats they need more? They need 51. So they need 9 more. So what they will do is, they will build a common political front by taking independents together. So Jinnah, liberals, individuals such as Madan Mohan Malviya, all will come together, and there will be a coalition which will be formed in the Central Legislative Assembly. More than that, C.R. Das became the mayor of Calcutta with Subhash Chandra Bose as the CEO. Vittal Bhai Patel is going to become the president of Bombay Corporation. Vallabhbhai Patel, Ahmedabad Municipality. Rajendra Prasad, Patna Municipality. Jawaharlal Nehru, Allahabad Municipality. So you see that they are now dominating. Each and every municipality, major municipalities and major corporations, which is in itself very, very major. all major cities were now controlled by the INC in a way. And therefore, what they will actually do is that with the coalition partners, they will outvote the government several times, even on matters of budgetary grants, passed adjournment motions. They agitated against through powerful speeches, which were then covered in the newspapers. In 1925, Vittalbhai was elected even as the Speaker of the Central Legislative Assembly. And in a major breakthrough, in 1928, they defeated the Public Safety Bill, which aimed at empowering the government to remove or take away what are called undesirable and subversive elements or foreigners. For example, the communists and the socialists, which I will discuss with you very soon, that the socialists were also rising at this point of time. Further, the Swarajists will thereafter fizz out. It's not that the no changers were not doing anything in the background also. There are some people who did not want to contest elections. Within the Congress itself, they did also good work. So ashrams were developed by them. Tribal, lower caste, political cadres were taught what is called spinning, hand spinning, charkha work. For example, in the Vedchi ashram, in the Bardoli Taluk, you have Chinmanmal Mehta, Jugat Ram Dev and Chinmanmal Bhatt, who devoted their entire life in educating the Adivasi community there. You have Ravi Shankar Maharaj of the Kheda district, who also helped the lower castes in that area. National schools, colleges were developed. Significantly, Hindu-Muslim unity was again fostered. So constructive work was about Khadi Bandars, students, teachers, Gandhian ashrams coming up. So in a way, both were doing what they were doing. Both were doing what they were doing, their historical role, which is doing good work also. Bardoli Satyagraha is later. Was doing good work also, and generally stuffing the councils with INC members so that they could disrupt the government itself. So the achievements is something which you cannot write in the examination. But what can be asked, I'll give you a question, is what is the difference between the two? But now, do you have much more clarity with regards to what is this concept of Swarajist no changers? And yes, how did they manage to do what they managed to do? Are we clear with regards to them? Mahima, remember the standard names, not those. Are we clear with regards to Swarajist no changers? Yes? Anybody who was 50, 60, 70, 90% should be at 100% now. Right? Perfect. So very simply, it's not about how much power they have in the legislative council. It's about how they create a new front. It's about disruption. That's it. Okay. Now, before I go to Simon Commission, let me bring everything together. You have Swarajists, you have no changers. Initially, there will be a tussle between the two. Question is, should we enter legislative council? Till November of 1924, they will not have formal endorsement from Gandhi. But since September of 1923, they had already gone into a compromise. That you can contest from within. They wanted to create a new front. They did not want to create a new front, but do constructive work. Between 1922 to 1924 till 1926, Swarajists will do what they do. No changers will do what they do. There will be no changers also. There will be Swarajists also. But before November of 1924, Swarajists were in minority. After 1924, it is going to be in majority. Yes? Are we clear with regards to this? I'll give you a mains type of question. Don't worry about that. I first want to just close this topic and then I'll give you a question. Don't worry about that. Okay. Now, problem is that by 1925, these Swarajists now start to undercut themselves only. First thing is going to be that C.R. Das is going to die. So a major leader is going to die for the Swarajes. But there will be something more problematic. What more problematic aspect is that there will be two camps which will develop within the Swarajists. One are called the responsivists and the other one are called non-responsivists. Responsivist means response and non-response. Responsivists and non-responsivists, the point was responsivists wanted to take communal questions and agenda within the council, while the non-responsivists did not want to take up communal questions or agenda. Now, this is the problem. Basically, the Swarajists will get divided over the issue that should the Swarajists in the council support religion or not. Responsivists will say, yes, we should promote religious identity, we should promote religious agenda, we should not stay away from it. The non-responsivists will say that if you are going to do that, you are technically undercutting the whole thing also. So in a way, the no changers were right in the long term, that it was not about political corruption, but the problem was that they were now starting to infight within themselves over a very simple issue. Should we support communal agenda or not? And as soon as they touch communal agenda, they fall into the trap which the British had created for themselves or for them in that regard, which is divide and rule. As soon as the responsivists and non-responsivists get divided, the Swarajists will start to get defeated very, very quickly in the coming elections, and the Swarajists will fizz out by 1926 in that regard. So this is where the Swarajists actually lost the plot. So in 1924, the Swarajist position is going to start to get weakened because there will be communal riots which will start to happen. And now the responsivists and non-responsivists will try to take up this agenda within the councils. Responsivists such as Lala Lajpat Rai, Madan Mohan Malviya, N.C. Kelkar advocated cooperation with the government and holding the office wherever possible with regards to protecting and protesting against anything which is not in Hindu interest. On the other hand, non-responsivists like Motilal Nehru said that we should not take this approach where we are technically supporting the different religions. It's not that suddenly the communal agenda came through. It's just that in 1924, the British found a way to divide. So the British actually were able to introduce a lot of bills which were communal in nature. There are communal rights which are happening generally, but it's about the British making sure that the Viceroy induces communalism into the councils itself. And he knew that by inducing those type of bills, there would be a response from the INC, and this is the response, which is that the Swarajists will itself destroy themselves in that regard. So thus the main leadership of the party is going to more or less get divided. They will reiterate that mass civil disobedience is going to happen. But the Swarajists by 1926 were totally in disarray. In the same place where they had actually done very, very well, they will again only manage 40 seats at the center, but will not be able to do very good in United Provinces or in Central Provinces or in Punjab. And by 1930, you will see that when the Purna Swaraj resolution will be passed, they will as it is leave the Congress generally. Now, can I just give you a basic overview of this, and then I will give you a question and we can close this topic. Are we clear with regards to the basic point? Very small area, but interesting in that regard. Okay. So what are the basic things which you need to remember? 1922, 1923, 1924, 1925, 26. There are basically 4 phases here. 1924, 22 is Chauri Chaura and what we call as defeat of Swarajist agenda. Thereafter, 1923, you have the concept of Swarajists and no change or compromise. 1924 is when the Swarajists succeed in their agenda. Gandhi also supports. And here is where the Swarajists will weaken themselves over communal agenda. So this is the basically 4 phases which are there. Right? Now I'll give you a question out of whatever question comes from this area, and then we can either take a we can take a break here so that I have a longer stretch in that regard. Okay. So question. The Swarajists and no changers were 2 sides of the same coin which represented nationalism. Discuss in the context of their ideological difference. We'll be doing previous year questions, don't worry. 250 words. MCQ based question has not come in Swarajist law changes till this point. Are we clear with regards to this question? Does this question make sense to you? Are you getting the point of the discussion? That both of them represent nationalism only, but represent different sides to nationalism. One who don't want to change, one who want to change, but they both want nationalism only. Right? Okay? Perfect. So, with this, we close this topic. Now, what is basically left is that when I come back from the break, I will discuss Nehru report. Rather, we'll discuss Simon Commission. Once Simon Commission is done, we will discuss Nehru report. Thereafter, Jinnah 14 points. 14 points of Jinnah. And thereafter, we'll do previous year questions. Once we're done with this section, then we'll go into revolutionary activities. Right? Don't make it in table form. The question is much bigger for that. So this is the basic summary of their existence. Can I take a break here? Everybody is clear with regards to this. Introduction. You tell me what should be the introduction for this question. Lakshmi, we don't focus on Jinnah because Jinnah is not important at this point of time. When he'll become important, I'll tell you Jinnah. So, in this type of question, you have what should be the intro? Use your basic understanding. What should be your intro? Tell me. You have to tell what had happened before Swarajist no changes came. So you just will say that non-cooperation movement was started in 1920-22 period. Chauri Chaura had happened, disillusionment happened. If you actually pay attention, the whole slide is like a question, is like an answer. You see, this is your introduction. Thereafter, this is your 2 sides. And this is your way of telling them that there was friction. And basically, this is your conclusion wherein you're talking about the performance. So, am I not actually teaching you in a question answer form? I am starting with the fact that how it started and then how it's ending. So in a way, this question is not asking you something different. It's generally asking you if there will always, you always ask me to give me an introduction. Introduction is always historical context. Can you just randomly say Swarajists are this, no changes are this? No. You have to tell them what is the context in which Swarajists no changes exist. Thereafter, you will go into it. See, I will say one thing to you very, very clearly, right now. And I am seeing your answers also, whatever you're sending. See, there's a very bad habit which certain platforms make you get into, which is that give us ready-made introduction conclusion. In UPSC, there's nothing called a ready-made introduction conclusion. If you need to be clear about this very, very clearly. Because if you will do that, then what is going to happen is you will get caught up in the mains examination in such a bad way, because ready-made introduction conclusions don't work. Because a lot of students say, I will learn the introduction and conclusion. You will learn close to 500, 600 introduction conclusions. You tell me, is that actually possible? Until and unless you don't know how to write an introduction, then the basic point of the matter is, how will you be able to change the introduction if the question changes? So the point is, learn how to write. Don't look for introduction, conclusion. Okay, if I change the question, then what? Then what will you do? You will still write the same introduction. This question is going to come or not going to come in the examination. You are going to solve close to 100, 200 questions. Every introduction, conclusion you will learn. Are you getting my point? You have to have the ability to write. That is a given in UPSC. And I've been telling you that introduction is historical context, conclusion is significance. Introduction, what is the historical context of NCM? Or what is the historical context of Swarajist no changes? NCM happened after Rowlett. This happened after NCM. 2 lines, 3 lines you have to write only. So that is the basic point. Introduction is always a historical context. That what has happened, that the question has been asked. That where did the Swarajist no changes come from? Where did the question come from? That is the basic point. Conclusion is always significance or impact. So next time when I'm going to do the mains questions with you, vis-a-vis previous year, I'll try to show you how I did it last time also. Last Friday, what did we do? This is the same thing we did. And why am I actually giving you timelines? I'm giving you timelines so that you always have a certain context. In history, writing introduction is not difficult because you always have something which happened before it. So please understand this point. Every time I'm giving a question, I have a certain amount of comments which say, what will be the introduction, what will be the conclusion? The question is, if I give you introduction, conclusion of this, and then I change the question, then what are you going to do? Then you're going to ask me again to give introduction, conclusion. That's not the point here. The point is, understand how to approach a question. This question has been worded in a very difficult way, but it's very easy, straightforward. Any introduction, 3 lines, 4 lines, 20 words, you have to just write what is the historical context. End of story. Are we clear? Can we take a break? Okay. 7:35 we come back and we take the story forward. See you. Welcome back. Okay. Can we start Simon Commission? Yes. Okay, great. Now we've done the first strand wherein we've discussed the Swarajist no changes. We've discussed the general story of what was happening within the Congress. Now, I hope everybody is perfectly clear about that basic discussion, that what was happening, what was not happening, why is there basic contradiction between the two. I believe that is now perfectly clear. Now, if you remember, in the Government of India Act, in the Government of India Act 1919, there was a provision. And that provision was that after 10 years, there will be a statutory commission which is going to come to India and check or review the working. Do you remember this clause? Montagu claims for reforms, that it will review the work of the Government of India Act. Very good. Now, this should have technically come in 1929, but it doesn't. Because of the Swarajists misusing the council so much, and Swaraj creating so much pressure on the government, in 1927, the same statutory commission is sent 2 years early, so it is preponed. It is preponed. And all of this is because of the Swarajist pressure and the Swarajists, how they use the council. So basically, the British wanted to check that is there fundamentally an issue in the way the councils are created. Therefore, the Simon Commission, preponed means comes before. Simon Commission is not something new. It is the same statutory commission. That is why it's also called the Indian Statutory Commission. Now, why is it called Simon Commission? Because it was headed by a person called John Simon. He will head what is called the Indian Statutory Commission. Coming 2 years early in 1927, as soon as the Simon Commission is announced, there's a major hue and cry, and nationalism was again back to its senses. Now, if I have to review the working of the Government of India Act 1919, who should I ask? An Indian or a Britisher? How is it working? An Indian, because we are the ones who are getting governed by it. But the problem of this Indian Statutory Commission is there are 7 members and all of them are British MPs. Now, this the INC said is absurd. This the INC said is absurd, that how can you have an all British commission to check the working of the Indian Statutory Commission or the Government of India 1919, and now there will be extreme level of protest which is going to start in India, and as soon as Simon is going to land in India, there will be a very beautiful slogan, "Go back, Simon. Simon, go back." This became the hue and cry. That it was shown black flags everywhere. The 7 MPs were technically hounded and were outshouted. A lot of protest against the Simon Commission because of no Indian presence itself. Now, the Simon Commission also became a very important moment in Indian history, because Simon Commission is going to give a lot of recommendations, but that report is not going to come before 1930. It takes 3 years, three and a half years to actually make that report. But when the Indians started to say that if you have to make a constitution, give it to us, we will make a better constitution. We'll make a better constitution. And we have the ability as the brown man to do these things. So there comes a challenge from the British. The British say that if you have such a problem with Simon, why don't you make a constitution which is acceptable to everybody? This comes from the Secretary of State named Lord Binkerhead. Binkerhead is going to say to the INC that we are trying to do our best in creating a constitution which is acceptable to everyone. Why don't you make a constitution? This is my challenge to the INC. So the INC says, okay. And there will be an all-party meeting which is going to happen. And a subcommittee will be formed under the leadership of Motilal Nehru. And this subcommittee will produce what is called the first Indian attempt in writing a constitution, which is called the Nehru Report of 1928. This is considered a very important document because it will do two things. It will also first give the vision of the INC as a leader or as a body which could lead India, but will also create a lot of confusion and contradiction, and specifically make a father and son fight over an issue. Because Jawaharlal Nehru hated the Nehru Report, Subhash Chandra Bose hated the Nehru Report, and that was because of one very specific thing which Motilal Nehru and everyone else in the Congress added. So if this makes sense, I'll read it out to you, the concept of Simon, and then we'll discuss the Nehru Report, the most important concept, dominion status, which I have to discuss with you. Make sense? Great, very good. So you have in 1927, the British will appoint the Indian Statutory Commission headed by Sir John Simon. It was to check the way of working of the Montagu Chelmsford reforms, and basically it has to come after 10 years, but it will be preponed to come early. The basic agenda is to review the working of the Government of India in 1919 and suggest reforms for the future. Now, 1928 commission will reach, but with widespread protest across India. The main reason is that no Indian was included into this system. Commission had 7 British MPs. The commission will later give its report by 1930, which will basically say to retain communal electorates, which will only lead to more tensions. Will ask for abolition of diarchy at provinces and establishment of representative government in provinces. We'll see this later when we'll talk about roundtable conferences on Monday. As of right now, what is more important is when there is extreme level of protest, then the Secretary of State, Lord Binkerhead, is going to challenge the Indians to produce a constitution that was acceptable to all. And all important Indian leaders and parties will meet in Delhi to figure this out. A subcommittee will be formed under Motilal Nehru. And in August of 1928, the Nehru report will be submitted with the help of Motilal Nehru as president, but also Tej Bahadur Sapru. You have to remember this. Subhash Chandra Bose, N.A. Mangal Singh, Ali Imam, Qureshi, and G.R. Pradhan being part of this subcommittee itself. And it will be unanimously adopted in 1928 in the Calcutta session. Therefore, everybody was behind the Nehru report. But the Nehru report introduced a very dangerous concept, which the British are now going to use against the British interest for quite a long time. And even in the end, the British are only going to give us that. The first and most important recommendation of Nehru report was dominion status on the lines of self-governing dominions has been desired by Indians. Now, what do I mean by this? Dominion Dominion status. Can I discuss dominion status? This is what has been asked by the Nehru report. Right? Now, what is dominion? So when you will clear this examination, you will get an appointment letter. And that appointment letter will say that the President of India has the pleasure to appoint your name to the Indian Administrative Services. So very simply, it says that the President of India has the pleasure of appointing you to the IAS, right? Now, when any bill is passed, when the Prime Minister works, when the Council of Ministers works, they work in the name of whom? They work in the name of whom? The President. So basically, the President is the ultimate executive. He's the ultimate executive. He's not the, in Indian parliamentary system, he's not the de facto power, but the de jure power. He's the symbolic head of the government. He's the symbolic head of the government of India. No act can be passed without his assent. So in a way, he's also part of the parliament in a way. So the president is the ultimate executive. Now, why is that? Because India has what is called as complete freedom, or what we call as the concept of sovereignty. India has what we call as sovereignty. Rather, the word which I want to use is that India is a republic. So in the republic, the president is the highest executive, and the prime minister then works in the name of the president. And India is sovereign. India is sovereign. India has its own internal and external freedom. Yes or no? Today, India has complete independence, complete freedom. Yes? Now, what dominion actually means is partial independence or freedom. If India today was a dominion of the British, then it would have said that the Queen of England has the pleasure of appointing you to the Indian Administrative Services. Basically, everything under the ultimate executive would be Indian. For example, the Prime Minister to the last IAS officer would be Indian. But the ultimate executive would be the Queen or King. Meaning that all power was drawn from the Queen and the King. In this, we do not have sovereignty because we accept the overlordship of the Queen or the King. The concept of Swaraj within the empire is this only. Word dominion is a geographical term. Dominion means a geographical entity of a country. So dominion status means that basically we are giving you a status under which you are an extended power of the UK. So UK still controls India because India is considered a part of the UK, United Kingdom. So dominion status does not give India full independence, but only gives it partial independence, wherein a responsible government is there, but the king and the queen is the ultimate executive. So there's no concept of sovereignty. There's a dispersion of sovereignty, but the real power resides with the king and queen. Are we getting the concept of dominion here? Okay. Now, if we are getting the concept of dominion, this is what Nehru report has asked for. Now, this is what Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose will not agree to. Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose will say that what is the point of dominion? When did we come to this conclusion that our basic argument, yes, Shalu, in a way, yes, king equals to president in that way. We will not be called a republic, we will be called a constitutional monarchy. The simple point of the matter is that dominion gives India partial independence. Jawaharlal Nehru says, who agreed to this? Who agreed to this? It is Swaraj, but it is Swaraj within the empire. But we never agreed to this concept, Swaraj within the empire. We agreed to the concept that we will give Swaraj only as a form of complete independence. Now, the question would be, why would the Congress adopt it? Why would Motilal Nehru actually say it? His father himself, yes, Motilal Nehru is the father of Jawaharlal Nehru. He is not agreeing with his father only. The problem was that there's an inherent conservatism in the Congress still. Because they can't imagine complete independence. And why am I saying that the British are going to use dominion status? Because when we will say that we don't want dominion status in 1929, Purna Swaraj resolution, the British will offer it as in August offer also, in Cripps mission also, in the end in Wavell plan also, in cabinet mission also. And ironically, the Indian Independence Act said that two dominions will be created, India and Pakistan. So in the end, British gave us dominion only. But there was a clause of dominion which could leave the empire. That I will discuss with you when I will discuss August offer and Cripps mission with you. The simple point is, dominion status is an concept of Swaraj within the empire. So under dominion, you can't control your foreign policy. You cannot do anything externally. Internally, you can do whatever you want to. So dominion status, therefore, is a very dangerous concept. And I'll give you a last example of dominion and then we'll go back to Nehru report. For example, you have Tata Group. Yes. So then you have Tata Motors, Titan. You have Titan I, etc. There are close to 150 such companies which Tata controls. Jaguar, Land Rover. This is what dominion looks like. Tata Sky, whatever you want to say. Vistara. Tata here is basically the queen or king, and these are what are called dominions. Are you now getting the point? That in themselves they are independent. However, they ultimately are coming under that one body which is called the Tata Group. So I hope now dominion should not be a problem to you. Should not be a problem to you. Yes, perfect, 100% clear, great. So what does the dominion status concept entail? Dominion status on the lines of self-governing dominions was formed by the Indians. Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose, the younger elements, did not like it. He rejected separate electorates. He said that linguistic provinces will be there. Thereafter, demand for joint electorates with reserved seats for Muslims at the center and in provinces where they were in a minority. But the most interesting, 19 fundamental rights, which right to equality with women, right to form unions, universal adult suffrage, all were proposed. And responsible government at the center and in provinces, which is Indian government. Now, in a way, what 99 years lease, India, don't fall into these traps. that they give us independence for 99 years. We are a sovereign country. We can do whatever we want to. So the people who've never studied history then tell us what is history. See, don't worry about that, Mahima. Simple point. Simple point. Dominion status, rejected separate electorates, linguistic province, 19 fundamental rights, responsible government at the center. Now, if I was Jinnah, would I be very happy to look at Nehru report? No. If I was Jinnah, I would not like it, because he is not going to like two things. First, he is saying the concept of fundamental rights, and the second is saying the concept of joint electorates. So now just as a form of consolidation, we have done Simon Commission. Simon Commission leads to the Nehru report. We understand the issue with the Nehru report, right? So now can I move to the self-inflicted Jinnah issue? Okay. Now, the Muslim League was not very happy with the Nehru report. Not very happy with the Nehru report, because the concept of separate electorates was getting rejected. Now, nobody asked Jinnah. Nobody asked Muhammad Ali Jinnah to give us 14 points. Nobody said, Jinnah, give us an alternative. No. He took it upon himself that Nehru wrote a report. I will also write 14 points. No one cared. No one actually read it. And no one he did not really matter. But self-inflicted process of creating an alternative to the Nehru report was for Jinnah's 14 points. Now, obviously, we will not learn it, but enjoy it. Can we enjoy the 14 points? Because it's very interesting the way he frames the 14 points. No one cares. The reaction was that younger sections, Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose, regarded this concept as backward. They wanted Purna Swaraj. Obviously, Muslim League was not very happy, because anybody who was getting a separate electorate was not happy. Sikhs. Further, Jinnah will now convene an all-party conference for Muslims and draw up his 14 points. So, let's enjoy the 14 points. In March of 1929, he introduced 14 points, and they are first, listen just, federal constitution with residual powers to provinces. Now, understand one thing. The Muslim League and Jinnah always wanted one thing, which is a weak center and a strong province. Why would that be the case? Why would Jinnah or Muslim League always want the provinces to be stronger and center to be weak? Because as of right now, there's no concept of Pakistan. So if the power is concentrated in center, in absolute majority senses, if there are 100 seats, the Hindu majority seats will be there or Muslim majority seats will be there? Hindu, because as per population, as of right now, out of that 100, 60 to 70, 80% of the seats would go to Hindus. And in a province where Muslims are more, he would get 80% of the seats. So he always wanted a center which was weak, because that way he could keep the provinces strong. Where he could now try to talk about this federalistic idea where provinces should have the heed. And you will see everywhere he will say the same thing. Weak federal constitution, provincial autonomy. Then no constitution amendment by the center without the concurrence of the states. All legislature elected bodies to have adequate representation of Muslims in every province without reducing the majority of Muslims in any province to a minority or equality. Adequate representation to Muslims in services and governing bodies. So he wants everything should be taken with provinces in mind. Further, 1/3 Muslim representation in the central legislature. In any cabinet and of the province, there should be 1/3 Muslims. Separate electorates. No bill resolution can be passed or legislation can be passed if 3/4 of the minority community considered it's against its interest. Any territorial redistribution should not disturb Muslim majority areas of Punjab, Bengal, and Northwestern Frontier Province. Separation of Sindh from Bombay so that Sindh also becomes one province. Constitutional reform. Now comes the joke which he said. Full religious freedom to all communities. Then what was all of that? Protection of Muslim rights in religion, culture, education, language. So he's everywhere saying that minority, minority, minority. And then he says, no, I give full freedom to everybody. So you can see how Jinnah has a very distorted vision of a nation itself. A very, very distorted vision of nation. And that is the most interesting aspect here. That he had a totally distorted vision of the nation. So, see, now please pay attention. We've enjoyed 14 points. Nobody is learning this. Two things please need to understand. First is that now I've reached the end of this story. Swarajist no changers, elections, Gandhi, repression, Simon Commission, Nehru report, Jinnah 14 points. On Monday when I come back, I will start from again the Nehru report and I will talk about Nehru report, Irwin's what we call as the Pahlavi Declaration. We'll go to Purna Swaraj resolution of Lahore. And then we will go into very important topic Monday, CDM. Civil disobedience, round table 1, round table 2, round table 3, civil disobedience 2. We'll reach till 1935, till Pune Pact, on Monday. Vis-a-vis our main story, please tell me, is the first timeline everybody is clear in everybody's mind? Wherein we started with Chauri Chaura and we end with Jinnah giving us a joke in the form of 14 points. Very simply, there's a debate in the Congress and thereafter Simon Commission unites everybody and Nehru report creates a little bit of conflict. So for 2 days, 48 hours, can you keep this information with you that Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose don't like the concept of dominion and the concept of dominion status generally? Can you remember this much? Yes? No, 14 points are not important for you. Yes? You can? So if then you allow me, I would like to do certain previous year questions and then go into the revolutionaries story and have a very interesting discussion about Bhagat Singh and Saunders murder and everything. Can we pivot now? I hope everything is making sense. I told you small topics are there. That is what we are discussing as of right now. Yes? Okay? Perfect. So, ready for previous year? Great. Okay. So, you don't have to learn 14 points, nothing. That nobody has the time to learn 14 points, that too of Jinnah. No one cares. Okay. Nehru report not important, or whatever is important about Nehru report, I will tell you that on Monday, because Nehru report, Irwin Declaration, Delhi Manifesto and Pune Swaraj resolution are 4 things which happen together. So don't worry about that, Gayatri. Okay. First question. Question number which came in this year itself, 2022. Consider the following freedom fighters: Birendra Kumar Ghosh, Yogesh Chandra Chatterjee, Rash Bihari Bose. Who of the above were actively associated with Gadar party? I have not told you one name, but that really doesn't matter. Come on, everybody. That one name I am going to discuss as it is, as soon as we start HRA, that is going to be discussed. Shri, the question is in front of you. 34, 12, 16. Okay. Tell me the people who've answered A and C. Birendra Kumar Ghosh is part of Gadar party. Birendra Kumar Ghosh and Aurobindo Ghosh. Anushilan and Yugantar. This much you know, right? This much you know. Now, sorry. Yeah. Now these two are eliminated. These two are eliminated. Now either 3 is correct or 2 is correct. When the Kamagato-Maro incident happened and they said that we will send fighters to India, who was asked to lead that movement? She refresh. Right now, when I will teach you HRA, Jogesh Chandra Chatterjee is from the HRA. But that didn't really matter. He went to Japan. He used to help the Gadarites go from Yokohama to Vancouver. He was the one who was operating from the Japanese sector. Now tell me one thing. The people who have answered between B and D, why did not you trust your information which you have in your mind? You tell me. It was a trust issue, right? Some of you answered B because you thought Ras Bihari Bose can't be there. So this question is a very easy question if you have basic understanding. It's not that they've asked obscure names. First thing I will tell you, Ram Prasad Bismil, Jogesh Chandra Chatterjee. That is not the point. The point is, could we actually come to 50-50? That much I can expect from you, right? That you can eliminate A and C. A and C ability you have, yes or no? You tell me. You had the ability to eliminate A and C? Then who have answered A and C, what was the issue? Revision is a separate issue altogether. But are you getting my point? Sometimes the answer just comes through elimination. That's it. So this is the latest question which came, not very difficult that way, because all 3 names are very known. Next. With reference to Swadeshi movement, consider the following statements. HRA, Hindustan Republican Army, I will teach you after this only. It contributed to the revival of indigenous artisan craft and industries. The National Council for Education was established as part of the Swadeshi movement. Come on, which of the following statements are correct? Hmm. 59% totally correct. 21, 13, 7. Okay, tell me one thing. First statement is very simply an implied statement. Would Swadeshi movement help in revival of indigenous crafts and industries? Yes or no? Yes, it will. Because Swadeshi means indigenous handicrafts will be supported. Khadi. Now, second was the concept of what are called boycott of institutions. So, was the National Council for Education created so as to make sure that the students who had left the governmental institutions, they could be supported? Yes. So, is this question difficult? Is this question difficult? No, it needs revision. Why am I doing this right now? Is because you need to understand what is the depth of the questions. What is the depth of the questions? Now, this everybody should get correct. The Swadeshi and boycott were adopted as methods of struggle for the first time during the agitation against partition of Bengal home rule movement, non-cooperation, visit of Simon Commission of India to India. This is 2016 question. Pay attention to the question. Pay attention to the wording. That is extremely important for you. Because I know where two options everybody is going to answer. $68, $25. This 25 is what I know. See, it says Swadeshi boycott. First time. Partition of Bengal means Swadeshi. This is 1905. This is 1915. This is 1920 to 22. This is 1927. Now you get the point of giving you a timeline. Still, non-cooperation movement is before or after Swadeshi. It's actually given in chronological order also. That's true. So for the first time, the first word Swadeshi boycott was used in partition of Bengal. So this is a free question. They have not even rearranged, as one of you pointed out. They've actually just given them in chronological order only. Partition, movement, cooperation, Simon Commission. So did they ask you about the names of the people? Did they ask you about the details of the person? What did they ask you? They asked you a conceptual question. This is what UPSC has started to do, which is to ask conceptual questions where they're checking if you can understand the logic of that topic or not. Is this encouraging? Is this discouraging? Are you understanding the process of solving these questions? You've already done these quite a lot. But the point of the matter is you need to understand what UPSC is asking you. Okay, next. The Montagu-Chelmsford reforms proposal or Montagu-Chelmsford proposal were related to social reform, educational reform, reforms in police administration, constitutional reforms. Now this, if everybody is not going to get correct, then there's a problem. This everybody should get correct. Two more questions after this. Ten, 71% totally correct. Montagu-Chelmsford, Government of India Act 1919. Not social reform, not education reform, not police. Constitution. Okay. What was the main reason for the split in the Indian National Congress at Surat in 1907? This time in 2016, quite a lot of questions from this area. Introduction of communalism in Indian politics by Lord Minto. Extremist lack of faith in the capacity of the moderates to negotiate with the British government. The foundation of the Muslim League. Aurobindo Ghosh's inability to get elected as president of the Indian National Congress. Come on. Perfect. 79%. Extremists did not believe in the moderate cause. That is why the Surat split. Communalism has nothing to do with Congress. Formation of Muslim League was not even significant. 1906. If this you know, this is 1906. And there is nothing called Aurobindo Ghosh inability. This is just one random statement they've added. So last question. Come on. This is a little bit implied. With reference to Rowlatt Satyagraha, which one of the following statements are correct? The Rowlatt Act was based on the recommendation of the Sedition Committee. In Rowlatt Satyagraha, Gandhiji tried to use the Home Rule League. Demonstrations against the Simon Commission coincided with the Rowlatt Satyagraha. Come on. Very easy question. Correct statements. "44 are correct, 33 are incorrect. You tell me one thing. Did I not say that Gandhiji used the Home Rule League to destroy the Home Rule League? Did we discuss this? That he tried to reel in the Home Rule League movement into the non-cooperation, into the Rowlatt Satyagraha rather. What the Rowlatt Act based on Sedition Committee under Sidney Rowlatt? Yes, correct. Demonstrations against Simon Commission coincided with Rowlatt. 1927, 1919. 3 is incorrect. Again, it's based on timeline. Now I hope you are understanding the importance of timeline, so that you know where you are in the story. Now, Rowlatt Satyagraha, Gandhiji tried to use Home Rule League. This is a very standard point which I discussed with you also. That Home Rule League movement was diluted by Gandhi, and everybody was very enthusiastically supporting Gandhi during Rowlatt Satyagraha and even later also. So, are you getting the point why it is 1 and 2 only and not 1 only? I told you it's an implied concept again. Now, what is the conclusion before I show you the leaderboard? The conclusion is that the question, see, Gandhi came when he was in the Home Rule, when the Home Rule League movement was there. Gandhi will come, launch the Rowlatt Satyagraha, and therefore ask the Home Rule League movement leaders and cadre to actually become a part of the Satyagraha, and therefore he undercuts the Home Rule League. I told you that the Home Rule League movement was not supported by Gandhi, and Gandhi therefore in turn undercuts the Home Rule League movement itself. So the conclusion, what is the conclusion we can come to after looking at these questions? The conclusion here is that the questions are not what we call as difficult. They're conceptual. They are based on certain application. That is it. It's an application of knowledge. Home Rule League movement was there in 1915, 1916. Rowlatt Satyagraha, Gandhi used the Home Rule League constituency leaders to launch the Rowlatt Satyagraha. How is this very difficult? I've already told you this. Very simply, he will use from the beginning itself till the end, till Tilak is alive, the Home Rule League movement. This point is literally given in the PPT. If you've paid attention, you would have seen this. This line is exactly given in the PPT. So, Gandhiji tried to utilize in the sense that he used the Home Rule League movement in a way, the leaders, the people and the cadre within his Satyagraha itself. Most of the Home Rule League leaders were actually later Gandhian leaders. So this point is just a little bit modified sentence of what we've already discussed. Are you getting my point? Is this clear? Again, basically, if you revise once, you will see this line is actually written in the PPT only. What is the conclusion? Tell me. What is the conclusion? So, Vanshika, if you're trying to go for the tried word, then you're overthinking. You're overthinking. He succeeded, but he did try also, na? He first try and then succeed. So, is it implied that he tried? So, the point needs to be very clear. Questions are not what we call as factual. They're conceptual. And you just need one revision. That's it. And everything is going to be fine. Okay. Sixth question asked, Munna, Kirtana, Deepika, Sachin, Kiru, Janvi, Amrit, Ankita, Piyusha, Amandeep, Shri, Shiranjeevi, Ankita, Shaili, Sachin, then Kanisha. Thereafter, Chetan and one question incorrect. Okay. So, get my point? Can I go back to revolutionary activities? Yes, Shruti. With one revision, everything is going to be fine. See, I'm going to just say one thing very, very clearly. Don't have to worry. I hope you're getting the point. The questions are not extraordinary. They're just based on basic understanding. You all have not even revised once. Still, you're getting one question, two question, three question, four question. No question correct. At least you're attempting the questions. So there is a certain fear which students have of what we call as modern India. I hope that fear is moving away, because history is not all about facts. It's about much, much, much more conceptual understanding of certain things. So if we all can agree to this, then we'll move to the last section, 1 hour discussion, but an interesting one vis-a-vis Bhagat Singh and all. Clear? Can we move to this section? Okay. Most probably next week we give India independence. Next week we give India independence, yes. 30 to 35, 35 to 40, yeah, 40 to 47. By Wednesday we'll give India independence. Okay. Which book name? Book name I'll tell you, don't worry. Now, the second consequence, now please pay attention. I'm now starting to develop this concept. Now, the second consequence of the Chauri Chaura withdrawal was because the Chauri Chaura disillusioned a lot of people. The second consequence was revolutionaries again doing what they thought was right, which is to go for certain type of activities which could send a message to the British. And the basic point is, if the British can't hear the cries of the Indians, we will keep one hand on the ear of the British and then make the British hear. It's about making the deaf ear hear. We are going to put a bomb next to their ear and we're going to make you listen to the bomb for sure. Because at this point of time, the bomb became a very important symbol of resistance. Because it was about creating ruckus. It was about creating a boom. That it has to create a certain amount of noise which the British can listen to. Because the British was very simply becoming deaf to the Indian plight, deaf to the Indian grievances. So when we talk about new revolutionary forces, we've already discussed phase 1. Phase 1 is Anushilan, Mitra Mela, Abhinav Bharat, and it goes until Gadar. That ends by 1915. Now, after 1915, 1920s, as it is the very interesting phase because of 2-3 very important things. First, in 1917, there will be a very important revolution which will happen in the world, and it is called the Russian Revolution. It's called the Russian Revolution. Now, Russian Revolution was based on a very important concept. And when you will do world history with me, I'll teach you the Russian Revolution. I'll even teach you Marxism. I will teach you socialism and communism. But the Russian Revolution introduced to this idea what is called socialism. Socialism basically is the concept of government controlled, what we call as government controlled industries. Capitalism being the what we live in today, industrial revolution based industries being very exploitative, workers, peasant getting exploited. Socialism is about equality. It's about equality. It's about everybody having everything what they need. It's about justice. So very simply, socialism, China is not socialistic. Don't give, China is not socialistic in any way or form. We'll talk about that, separate issue altogether. No country in this world is socialistic today. So socialism is about equality, justice, and I'll develop this concept more with you when I will talk about Gandhi and Bose. But the basic point of the matter as of right now is that in 1970s was a very major period in which the power of the worker became very, very important. That if the worker comes together, then they can do anything. Communism is actually the second step after socialism, which is classless, stateless society, which again does not exist. But don't worry about this concept right now. When the time will come, I will teach you that. As of right now, I'm just trying to create a certain context. The First World War was over. The Russian Revolution had happened. Russian Revolution created this concept that equality and justice is something very important along with freedom. Why am I saying this? Because the second brand, which is Bhagat Singh and his comrades, were actually quite influenced by what we call as socialism. That is why their name changed from HRA to HSRA. We will discuss that. The simple point is, for you as of right now, socialism means justice to the people. Socialism means equality. Socialism means we as a country today are socialistic. If you know, our preamble says that we are a socialistic republic wherein mixed economy, the PSUs, BHEL, ONGC, SAIL are examples of that. We believe in two things. There are two DPSPs. Can you tell me the two DPSPs which embody socialism? Directive Principles of State Policy, two DPSPs which embody socialistic principle. Come on. Not 45. If you've done polity, you should know it, not 44. Ilyas, tell me further, not 34. If you're telling me 39, then what? 39 what? Not 37, not 48, not 51. 39 B and C. 39 B and C. 39 B and C. 39 B says redistribution of resources to the people. C says no concentration of wealth in the hands of one person. This is what 39 B and C are. Whenever 39 B and C come in, even the fundamental rights go out of the picture. This you would have done in polity if you haven't, separate issue altogether. But yes, in India, we are socialistic. We believe in equality amongst people. So before I move into the HRA discussion, can we all agree to this basic definition of socialism? I'll develop it further when I'll go into Gandhi versus Bose 1938 to 40 period. Yes? Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Now, because of this new dynamism, students, trade unions, peasant agitations had increased by 1920s. As it is, by 1928, Jawaharlal Nehru had become was presiding over the All Bengal Students Conference. Student leagues were coming up. On the other hand, peasant agitations were also becoming important. One of the most celebrated, where Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel got his Sardar, which is the Bardoli Satyagraha, where a peasant agitation was there, in which Vallabhbhai Patel, the Iron Man of India, himself was representing Gandhi and led a Satyagraha in that regard. There were major peasant agitations against tenancy laws. There was agitation against high rent. No rent campaign had become very, very common. In Bombay, Madras, in Andhra Pradesh, everywhere we see proper peasants, now inspired by Gandhian methodology, going for satyagrah. Further, we also see trade unions come up. Trade unions are wherein workers come together under trade unions. So you have the All India Trade Union Congress, which comes up in 1920 itself, with Lala Lajpat Rai as the first president and Dewan Chanmanlal as the general secretary. Thereafter, there were major strikes in 1920s, from Kharagpur to the iron Jamshedpur, Tata Iron and Steel Works, to Bombay Textile Mills. Everywhere, the Buckingham Carnatic Mills, everywhere, all across India, strikes had become very, very common. In 1928 itself, 5 lakh workers striked together. And the first May Day, which we also observed on 1st May, was actually celebrated in Madras in 1923. So in a way, this May Day was very significant. This May Day was very, very significant. On Monday, we did not have class for the same reason. Because it was exactly 100 years to the first May Day which happened, Labor Day, in India, 1923. Not 100, 200 years. So very simply, the very important aspect here is that everywhere we see trade unions, workers are becoming very, very important. But in all of this, there was also one more very important personality, very, very important personality, as 100 years only. The very important personality, I saw it as 1823. The simple point of the matter is that whilst workers and peasants had become very important, who made them like this? You tell me. Who made them like this? Yes, very good. Gandhi. Gandhi had integrated the workers and peasants very beautifully into the national movement. And the fact that in 1923 we have the first May Day, the fact that there are strikes all across, the fact that the peasants know what they need to do is Gandhian power. As much as you can deny it, as much as you don't like it, you don't want it, that's not the point. The fact is these two major forces were added to the national movement only because of Gandhi. However, there's also a revival of revolutionary bodies. And the first body which was emerging at this point of time in 1924 was a very important body called the Hindustan Republican Army, sometimes also called Association, the HRA. 3 very significant personalities: Ram Prasad Bismil, Jogesh Chandra Chatterjee, now you get the name, and Sachin Sanyal formed this body. Now, if you had done this section with me, you would have easily eliminated, but I didn't do it beforehand. So, see, we've done the constitutional story. I'm again trying to consolidate everything. We've done the constitutional story. Now we are closing that story and going to the other part of the story, which was students, peasant, workers, and now the revivalism of revolutionary bodies, and the first such body being HRA. Everybody's following me, right? There's no issue till this point. Because now we'll talk about what did they do, and very interesting discussions we need to have now. Yes? Who established these 3 personalities established, which is Ram Prasad Bismil, Jogendra Chatterjee, and Sachin Sanyal. Sachin Sanyal was not caught in the Delhi conspiracy case. Okay. Now, yes, it's the same Harding bombing one. Now, Jogesh Chandra Chatterjee, Ram Prasad Bismil, and Sachin Sanyal will find what is called the Hindustan Republican Army. And this body is going to now start to recruit a lot of students, youth, for what are called revolutionary activities, which will happen between 1924 to 1929. The most significant activity which the HRA did actually was to see, revolutionaries need two things. First, they need access to arms, and second, they need access to money. So there's a train called the 8 down train, which used to operate in the United Provinces. Used to travel between Delhi to parts of Gorakhpur and thereafter go further into towards Calcutta. 8 up train means that it goes up the line, and down train means down the line. So up and down, now we don't use that, we use train numbers, but 8 down and 8 up. Now 8 down train had a very interesting feature, that out of all the carriages, in one carriage it always used to have certain amount of gold and money, which used to be transferred between Calcutta and Delhi. So the HRA now wanted to send a message and stage a spectacular dacoity or robbery, which was the fact that they wanted to loot this train. And thereafter, this money was then going to be used to help the revolutionaries. So in August of 1925, the most significant activity done by the HRA was the Kakori robbery, as it is called, or now called the Kakori train incident, in which the very simply the HRA was able to loot this train and actually take close to 8 to 10 kgs of gold and close to 25,000 rupees out of this armored carriage. And they had to actually fight the police and the basic security there to stop the train. It's a very spectacular train action, robbery, whatever you want to call it. But the problem is that if you have so much gold, can you evade the police? No. It's a lot of money. 8 down train is the train which they looted. And this was the problem in this plan, because as soon as they loot it, the HRA will get arrested very quickly. So Ram Prasad Bismil, Sachin Sanyal and Jogesh Chandra Chatterjee, all three will get arrested, and more or less 90-95% of the HRA is going to get arrested, which were involved in the Kakori robbery, because of the fact that their money was too much and the gold was the problem for them, because the evidence will be found with them. But one person who actually evaded arrest was Chandrasekhar Azad. Now, Chandrasekhar Azad was able to evade the police because he was involved, but nobody was able to identify him. So between 1925 and 1928, generally 1928-ish period, the problem was that HRA got disbanded. Because more or less everybody was caught. Chandrasekhar Azad was very actively involved, but nobody was able to identify him. He was not at the place, or he was not even mentioned in the charge sheet itself. He will change his look. He will not look like what he was. He was very good in disguises. But what is going to happen is that in this period, 25 to 28 period, a new cadre of revolutionaries were rising, inspired by the Russian Revolution, believing in socialism and equality. Now, his uncle was already involved in revolutionary activities. The nephew of Ajit Singh, Bhagat Singh, will emerge as a new important leader and youth icon and youth leader in the Punjab sector. So the new cadre in that regard, Surya Sen, Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev, Chandrasekhar Azad, Shiv Verma, Bhagwati Charan Vora, Jaydev Kapoor, Jatin Das. These are the new cadre of leaders which will emerge. Jogesh Chandra Chatterjee was out of the picture because the HRA got disbanded. The simple point is that HRA needed to be revived. And that revision will happen in the 1928 period, when in September of 1928, the HSRA will be formed. HRA is Hindustan Republican Army, the original form. That is Ram Prasad Bismil and Jogendra Chatterjee along with Sachin Sanyal. However, this is the new story. This is the revived form, wherein HSRA, which is Hindustan Socialist Republican Army, will be formed, or association will be formed. And in this, the two most towering leaders were Azad and Bhagat Singh. They will revive this body back, but with the S into it, which is HSRA, Hindustan Socialist Republican Army Association. So the HRA, most important activity, Kakori train action. Thereafter, the next is the disbandment of HRA and revival of HRA as HSRA under Azad and Bhagat Singh. Any issue till this point? Okay. Now comes the most interesting discussion. Once I've had this discussion with you, then I will go into the PPT. Now, HSRA wanted to train the people, train the men and women, and HSRA was very clear that at the end of the day, it is only when everybody is going to come together, and when India will get united, then only we can get freedom from the British. Now, yes, Azad means Chandrasekhar Azad. Now, they did not actually want to do revolutionary activities in the beginning. No assassinations in the beginning. But what is going to happen is that in 1927, when the Simon Commission, they renamed it from HRA to HSRA to show the socialistic inclination, socialist republic, because these are socialistic leaders, they are influenced by this concept of socialism. Now, during the Simon Commission agitation, what will happen is that an officer called Saunders will be the in charge of a protest site against the Simon Commission, at which Lala Lajpat Rai was there. And when the protest is going to intensify, Lala Lajpat Rai will start to do the slogans, and he will be the leader of that protest in Punjab. And Saunders was in charge of the police at that point of time in that protest site. And what is going to happen is that once the protest intensifies, the police lathi charge. When they lathi charge, Lala Lajpat Rai will be lathi charged, and Saunders will start to hit Lala Lajpat Rai on the head with the lathi. It was to disperse him. However, Lala Lajpat Rai stood his ground, and after close to 25 to 26 blows to his head, he will die because of Saunders' brutal assault on him. And as soon as Sher-e-Punjab was dead, as soon as Lala Lajpat Rai was dead, now this was an inducing factor in creating the HSRA also. But the HSRA now wanted to avenge the death of Lala Lajpat Rai. They wanted to kill Saunders so as to send a message to the British that they can't do anything which they want to do. Generally, there is a sense of justice. There's something where they have to agree. So the first thing which the HSRA did was in December of 1928, in a very dramatic fashion, Saunders will be assassinated by Chandrasekhar Azad, and Bhagat Singh is going to be the one who will go and shoot Saunders in the chest. This is called Saunders murder or Saunders assassination. But the planning of the Saunders assassination was so good that neither Chandrasekhar Azad, neither Bhagat Singh will get caught. Neither. And there's a very interesting pamphlet which was circulated. I would like to read out that pamphlet to you. As soon as he was shot, there will be a pamphlet which will be circulated. Can I read that pamphlet out to you? Yes? No? Yes. Okay. So see, this is a very interesting book. Though I used to teach it in college. This is an academic level book. It's The Trial of Bhagat Singh The Politics of Justice, A.G. Noorani. Very interesting book if you get a chance. Very interesting book. So I'll be telling you some things, very interesting things out of it. There's a very interesting pamphlet which they circulated. I'll read it out to you. And this is what was circulated as soon as Saunders was shot. The circulation was notice. Listen, notice by Hindustan Socialist Republic Army. Bureaucracy beware. With the death of J.P. Saunders, the assassination of Lala Lajpat Rai has been avenged. It is a matter of great regret that a respected leader of 30 crore people was attacked by an ordinary police officer like J.P. Saunders and met his death at his hands. The national insult was a challenge to the young men of India. Today, the world has seen that the people of India are not lifeless. Their blood has not become cold. They can lay down their lives for the country's honor. The proof of this has been given by the youth who are ridiculed and insulted by the leaders of their own country. Tyrant government beware. This is the declaration which was circulated by the HSRA. Literal goosebumps it gave throughout the general public and the British government. Saunders was dead, Lala Lajpat Rai's killer was dead, and the irony was that basically nobody was caught also. Nobody was caught. Nobody knew who did it. Nobody knew who did it. Till this point, no issues. No one gets caught. Police is clueless. Nobody knows nothing. Now, the HSRA wants to go to the next step. See, Bhagat Singh very closely believed that the rule of law in India was a joke. The rule of law in India was a joke. So he wanted to prove that rule of law was actually a joke. So what he actually will do is that there were two bills which were getting passed on 8th April 1929. One being the trade disputes bill and the other one related to public safety. Both bills considered very oppressive generally to the people. One deporting all the socialists from India and other taking workers right away. Now, Bhagat Singh and who was with him? Who was with him? Legislative bombing, the second personality. Who went with him? Not Azad. Come on. Not Sukhdev. Yes. Very good, Chaitanya. Bhatukeshwar Dutt. Bhatukeshwar Dutt and Bhagat Singh will now go as visitors to the Central Legislative Assembly, and in a very dramatic fashion, they will throw a bomb into the Central Legislative Assembly. However, the bomb had been designed to just be a sounding bomb, in the sense that it had no explosive in it. It literally was a metaphor to say that we need to make the deaf ear of our legislators actually hear. But it's not that he threw the bomb and ran away. No. He actually staged his arrest. Dutt and Bhagat Singh both actually surrendered to the police. Whilst doing that, now their nara came, their motto came, Inqilab Zindabad. Long live the revolution. And now this became the hue and cry of the HRA and the HSRA, that specifically the HSRA now, that Inqilab Zindabad, that the voice of the revolution is Zindabad, and long live the revolution of the people against the British. Now, as soon as, and now listen to me very clearly, when the British caught, or when, no, rather not caught, when Bhagat Singh surrendered to the British, to the police did not know that Bhagat Singh is the same person who had shot Saunders. Please note this point. They had no idea that he's the same person who had shot Saunders. They just arrested him for the concept of legislative bombing. Now, the HSRA will be caught, because HSRA, that Bhagat Singh has been caught, except for Chandrasekhar Azad. Everybody, again, Chandrasekhar Azad being very good in evading the police, except for Chandrasekhar Azad, everybody else will be caught. Now, what was the agenda by getting caught? The agenda was like the Swarajist said, let us make a new front. Let us open a new front in the legislative assemblies. He said, let us open a new front and make the justice court. Let us make the courts a space for inqilab and for revolution. So every time the whole HSRA was brought into the court, they used to say, plead guilty. How do you plead this and that? Very simply, they used to say, Inqilab Zindabad, Inqilab Zindabad. They never tried to defend themselves. They never gave up on that. They just wanted to capture the imagination of the people that the courts are a joke. Moreover, what is going to happen is that in the jails in which HSRA was kept, specifically Bhagat Singh, very inhuman conditions were given to the Indians, whilst the Europeans had a very good time in the court itself. Court and in the jails. So Bhagat Singh and the HSRA now made it a point to say that we will not eat, we will fast till we don't get equal treatment as political prisoners and prisoners in the jail itself. There cannot be two jails for a European and an Indian. And they will not eat, they will be forcefully fed. And one very important member of the HSRA will be martyred in the process because of this hunger strike and because of the brutality of the police. Who was that personality? Amazing personality. Come on. Yes, Jatin Das. He will be martyred in this process. However, the British had to concede to the demand of the HSRA, and it is believed that because of Bhagat Singh's action, literally the prisons became bearable for Indians, and Indians got equal treatment as prisoners. But the irony of the fact is, now I'm going to go into a zone which you don't find in books, is that we all know that Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev, and Rajguru, all three were sentenced to death. Yes or no? They were sentenced to death, right? The three martyrs, they were sentenced to death. Do you even know the story behind how they were sentenced to death? No? So now listen to a new perspective, a very interesting concept. See, the fact of the matter is, when Bhagat Singh got caught, he was caught for central legislative bombing. Now, in Indian Penal Code, bombing was not a hangable offense. You could not give capital punishment for hanging. So, ironically, the first conviction of Bhagat Singh was actually only 8 years in jail. It was only 8 years in jail. Because the British had no idea who Bhagat Singh was, he was convicted for what he did, central legislative bombing. But because the British knew that they had caught the HSRA, a lot of pressure was created on the HSRA rack and on the cadre to tell who killed Saunders. So ironically, the first conviction of the court, the magistrate's court, the first sentencing of Bhagat Singh was only 7 years. It is, however, if you wanted to call it a betrayal, it is actually the betrayal of his own HSRA members that Bhagat Singh will be then created as an example. The British will create a lot of pressure on each and every member of the HSRA to tell them who killed Saunders, and it is based on the approver's testimony that the case was shifted to a special court. Who was an approver? See, approver is a police witness. For example, you and me do a robbery. Now, when I go to the police says that if you will tell me the whole plan, I will let the judge know that you helped us. So we will give you lenient sentencing. So I will then be called an approver in that regard because I have now become police witness. Now I have become a police witness. Now, ironically, when the HSRA members became approvers, then only Bhagat Singh was identified as the killer of Saunders. And as soon as that happened, Irwin, who was the viceroy, will annul the first judgment and now constitute a court, special court for the conviction of Bhagat Singh. Now, here is where Bhagat Singh actually, in a way, succeeded in showing that when it came to justice, the British were a joke. When it came to rule of law, everything was a joke. How? Because, tell me one thing, conviction of Bhagat Singh is a national emergency. No? Irwin actually used 31C, a section within the Government of India Act, which is there for national emergency to actually constitute the court which was going to convict or give the hanging judgment to Bhagat Singh. First misuse of power and first misuse of rule of law. Second was that now that Irwin knew that Saunders' murder was so dramatic, Bhagat Singh's conviction has all contradictions. So in this book, there's a very interesting section which points out, and I'll read it out to you, that the tribunal which was created to, this is called the Lahore conspiracy case because Saunders was shot at Lahore. It's called the Lahore conspiracy case. The court which was constituted, I hope you're following me, right? I'm now trying to build up on this idea how the ordinance was used. And then I'll move and give you the name of the approvers and I'll tell you a contradiction in that also. So the Lahore conspiracy case, the tribunal was constituted under the Government of India Act 1919. Section 31 and 72 said that the Governor General of India may, in cases of emergency, make and promulgate ordinances for the peace and good government of the British India, and any ordinance so shall, for the space of not more than 6 months, should be promulgated. Standard thing, once promulgated, 6 months it will be there. So very simply, the section which was used against Bhagat Singh or Lahore conspiracy case was a national emergency clause, which technically did not constitute as a national emergency. So it is first that he will very quickly close the case in the magistrates court and bring him to a specific tribunal under 1999. Now, the men who betrayed or were the ones who became approvers, their names are Fonendra Nath Ghosh, Manmohan Banerjee, Hans Raj Vora. He is the real person. Hans Raj Vora was the first one to say. And today his family lives in London very well. Lalit Kumar Mukherjee. And there was one more. His name is Jay Gopal, but it was actually later Lalit Kumar Mukherjee. And you have Ram Saran Das. Yes, Ram Saran Das. These are the approvers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 men who had actually become approvers, who said that we will be ready to testify against Bhagat Singh that he was the one who killed Saunders. It's not that they gained anything out of it. Unfortunately, they were under extreme pressure and they broke in. It's human nature because they were promised a much less severe punishment or a lenient punishment. That is why. So Fonendranath Ghosh, Manmohan Banerjee, Hansraj Vora, Lalit Kumar Mukherjee, and Ram Charan Das all agreed to be approvers. But there's a very important rule. Now, this is the last thing which I'm going to tell you with regards to this interesting case. There's a rule. Approvers need to give testimony in free will. Free will means that I should not be doing it under pressure. I should not be doing it under pressure. And if it turns out that an approver is doing it under police pressure, then according to rule of law, English jurisprudence, all approvers' testimony get cancelled. Right? You can remember this rule. If one approver says that I am pressurized, all approvers' testimony get cancelled. Now, look at, and I'll read out to you a section where on May 30th, Ram Sharan Das is going to actually put in a very important statement in front of the court. He told the tribunal, and I quote, please listen to me, I wish to put in document that which shows that how approvers are tortured. I hand in this document. I do not wish to remain in custody of the police. This document was given to me by the police officer who told me to learn it by heart. This was shown to me off and on by different officers who were with me. It passed on from officer to officer as they changed. I hand in this document. If this was the testimony which was given, according to this, should the approver's testimony stand or all of their testimony stand? No. As soon as this happens, the court says that let us do one thing. We will strike off Ram Sharan Das's testimony, but everybody else's testimony stands. Now you see, as soon as this should have happened, everybody should have got cancelled. Nothing happened. Only his got cancelled. First anomaly. Second, in this court there were 3 judges. Two were British, one were Indian. Now, as soon as the Indian judge gets to know that this is the case, he says that I recuse myself of the case because this case is happening in the most biased manner possible. Now, under Emergency Law 72 article of 1919 Act, if a special court judge, High Court judge most probably, if he actually recuses himself, 3 months should be taken to appoint the next judge. Meaning, if I recuse myself today, after 3 months only, should be the next judge which would come. Guess what happened? He will recuse on Monday, and on Tuesday, another British judge was appointed. Again, a mockery of British rule of law. Based on all of these anomalies, Irwin made sure that Bhagat Singh got a capital punishment or what we call as hanging sentence. And please hold on to this information because the eventual capital punishment will be given only 1929, just before the Gandhi impact. But what am I trying to tell you here? I'm trying to tell you 3 things to you. First is that Bhagat Singh could have just got a 7 years sentence and our Indian history would have been totally different because he was a personality who could change everything. Second, listen to me. Irwin did anything and everything to make sure that Bhagat Singh was created as an example, wherein special court, all rules were put on hold and every rule was defined. Third is that on Monday there will be a question which is going to come to me that why didn't Gandhi save Bhagat Singh? You're going to ask me this question, that Gandhi could have saved Bhagat Singh, or Gandhi, why did he not support Bhagat Singh? That answer I will give to you on Monday. But I want to give you just one very important thing right now. Looking at all the things which we've seen here, can we agree to this much that Irwin's personal interest was there in making sure that Bhagat Singh gets hanged? Can we agree to this much? Yes? And I hope that out of the discussion, out of this book, at least you get an alternative new perspective, because books will not talk about the approvers, and Bhagat Singh was never ever going to get a hanging sentence if it was not for the approvers generally. So this is my contribution to your journey and my basic conviction and my basic commitment to make sure that you go a cut above everybody else when it comes to information. So I don't need to do this, but I do it because as an Indian, you need to know that what actually happened to Bhagat Singh. Very interesting book. If you want to read it, it's called The Trial of Bhagat Singh. A.G. Noorani. Very beautiful book. Very, very beautiful book. We'll talk about, see, why is Irwin's interest is to show to the revolutionaries that I can do what I want to do. I can do what I want to do. That is the basic point here. If you understand all of this, I would just want to consolidate this area via the PPT itself. It was prestige, yes. It was prestige. Can I just consolidate everything? Perfect. Now, one thing which I want to say before we go into the PPT. See, individual heroistic acts are important. We'll talk about that. Bhagat Singh and Gandhi will discuss. Individual heroistic acts is something which Bhagat Singh believed in initially. But Bhagat Singh's later writings actually tell us a totally different picture, wherein he had actually realized that it was only the masses who could give us freedom. And the bodies which were created by Bhagat Singh before he died were also reflecting that. Bhagat Singh remains very relevant for our conviction and our commitment towards India and as citizens of India. But one thing which actually Bhagat Singh says nobody wants to repeat, or what he actually argued, and I would like to emphasize on that, is that Bhagat Singh believed one thing for sure, that if Indians are not united, anybody could use them. He used it in the perspective of communalism, that he believed that if British are able to divide India into Hindu and Muslim, then there was no future for India. If we have to remember one thing which he said today, is that it is very easy to get divided, but it's very, very hard to remain united. And this versus that which we do today, Hindu versus Muslim, Hindu versus Sikh, Sikh versus this, that, what is happening in Manipur as of right now, whatever violence we see generally. See, in India, there are hundreds of reasons to get divided, but there's only one reason to come together, which is India. And he was very clear that communalism was that poison which was going to divide India in such a way that the British were going to use us. And today, somehow we've forgot everything, but we remember one thing for sure, which is how to get divided. So please remember this line, that as much as he's a very iconic figure today, he remains relevant for us. But his one fact you need to remember as an officer, that religion as a dividing factor will always be there in India. But it has always been a uniting factor also. So it's very easy to get divided, but very, very hard to remain united. So this point, please remember, generally will help you generally in your life, because you are the future. And if we are inspired by Bhagat Singh, let us remember what he actually said. Rather than, we can be a nationalist, but if we are allowing people to get vote bank politics, everything, I don't need to tell you what I mean by that. Very easy to divide. So it's our constitution which has kept us together, but we as citizens also have to make sure that we don't do what make it so easy for us to be divided generally, right? So can I go back to the discussion? I hope that you get the sense of what I'm trying to say. Okay. Lakshmi, the PPT does not have that information. I've written it down here, but you see, I'm not asking you to read the book. I'm just, whatever I need to tell you, I'm telling you generally. So I'm giving you that information. Okay. So let's talk about the factors which led to the rise of revolutionaries. You have the First World War, which ends. By 1920, the government was generally in a little bit better understanding vis-a-vis how to have a harmonious environment rather than antagonistic. We already know that the Swarajist no changers were fighting over issues. The sudden withdrawal of the movement disillusioned quite a lot of, and specifically the youth specifically. So there will be a lot of journals which will rise, which will talk about self-sacrifice, Atma Shakti, Sarthi, Bijoli, and even novels and books such as Bandi Jeevan by Sachin Sanyal, Panther Dabi by S. Chatterjee will actually talk about self-sacrifice, that the only way India was going to get independence was through sacrifice. And to remember the freedom you and me enjoy today came at a cost, and the cost was of these leaders. So we take it for granted. We have this very democratic notion of being entitled for freedom, but this freedom had a cost. Remember that also. The new leaders, as I told you, Surya Sen, Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev, Chandrasekhar Azad, Yogesh Chandra Chatterjee were the new cadre which emerged in this period of time. I've given this on one slide so that you can associate them with the second phase itself. Now, the first body which emerged was actually the Hindustan Republican Association, or Army, the HRA, founded by in October of 1924 by Ram Prasad Bismil in Kanpur along with Yogesh Chandra Chatterjee and Sachin Sanyal. And the aim was very simple: an armed revolution to overthrow the colonial government. Janvi, I've not added all of them, but they are there. The most significant action which they did was the Kakori train action, or the robbery, in August of 1925, wherein they held the 8 down train at Kakori, an obscure village near Lucknow, and looted all the official railway cash. However, the government crackdown was very, very severe, and all 17 members of the HRA got arrested, specifically Bismil, Ashafullah, Rohan Singh, and Rajendra Lahiri. All were hanged, and Kakori proved to be a major setback to the HRA. Then, after the death of Sher-e Punjab, Lala Lajpat Rai, determined to overcome the setback, the young revolutionary, inspired by socialistic ideas, now met at the Arun Jaitley Stadium, or now called Firozshah Kot, previously called Firozshah Kotla, now called Arun Jaitley Stadium, near it, and they organized the HRA into a new form, and the new form was the Hindustan Socialist Republican Association under the leadership of Chandrasekhar Azad. But a lot of new participants were there. For example, Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev, Bhagwati Charan Vora from Punjab, B.K. Sinha, Shiv Verma, and Jaidev Kapoor from United Provinces. And again, it was about socialism as an official goal, which is equality, which was equality. Bhagat Singh was himself influenced by Marxist-Leninist thought. They wanted to abolish zamindari system, and the slogan was Inqilab Zindabad, Rang De Basanti. They targeted not only the British but every Indian capitalist, zamindar, king, or communal force, and they believed that only socialism was going to bring justice to India. For them, oppression was not just British oppression, was also oppression by the zamindars and the people who were exploiting the workers generally. Thereafter, in December of 1928 at Lahore, the HRA is going to avenge the death of HSRA is going to avenge the death of Sher-e Punjab when they will shoot Saunders. Bhagat Singh, Azad, and Rajguru were shot. Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, and Azad shot Saunders, who was responsible for the lathi charge in Lahore, and that is why Rajguru and Bhagat Singh were the one which were added along with Sukhdev, who was seen as a key conspirator. Then in 1929, the dramatic moment in which the Public Safety Bill and the Trade Dispute Bill was going to be passed on 8th April 1929. Bhatukeshwar Dutt and Bhagat Singh are going to throw the bomb into the Central Legislative Assembly with the aim of creating a new front vis-a-vis the courts itself. And these two bills were considered oppressive because they were taking the civil liberties of the workers and the people generally. Now, the bombs were deliberately made harmless with the aim of making the deaf ear hear. The objective was to get arrested and make the trial court a place of propaganda so that this movement could become bigger and bigger. However, Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev and Rajguru will be tried under the Lahore conspiracy case as soon as the approvers will come into the picture. In the jail, the revolutionaries also protested against the horrible conditions of the jails for Indians and started to fast, and they demanded honorable and decent treatment as political prisoners. On the 64th day of his fast, Jatin Das will be martyred. Azad, whilst he was not arrested, will also try to blow up Irwin's train in December of 1929. He will, however, be later killed, or he will martyr himself when he was surrounded in a park in Allahabad. Anybody knows the name of the park where he was surrounded in February of 1931? What was the park? Lucknow, Allahabad, Prayagraj. It's called Azad Park today. What was previously called? Yes, Alfred Park. It was called Alfred Park. Alfred Park, now renamed as Azad Park. He was killed. He rather shot himself in February 1931. And Rajguru, Bhagat Singh, and Sukhdev will be hanged in March of 1931. I will discuss the context of Gandhi-Irwin Pact and Gandhi and everything on Monday. Acceptable? Is this okay, everybody? I'm just closing the story in the PPT, but we'll have a discussion with regards to that. Thereafter, just to discuss Bhagat Singh's ideology for you, generally. Now, 1 second. Yes, let's discuss his ideology, which is relevant for you today as an Indian. See, even before his arrest, Bhagat Singh had moved away from the belief in violent and individual heroistic action to Marxism and the belief that popular broad-based movement alone could lead to successful revolution. In his words, he believed that a revolution only by the masses, for the masses, could get India independence. This ideology then aligns him with whom? If he's saying that only when the people come together, how does by the masses, for the masses? He brings it, yes, very good. So he is coming closer to the Gandhian ideology, that it is only the people who can get you independence, not individuals. So he is coming closer to the Gandhian ideology. Very good. Thereafter, Bhagat Singh, he established a very important body before he died, Punjab Naujawan Bharat Sabha, which is going to become a very important branch in the villages of Punjab to spread the revolutionary spirit. He had different rules, and 2 rules out of the 6 which he drafted for the Sabha, and please pay attention, was that its members would have nothing to do with communalism and would propagate a general feeling of tolerance, considering religion as only a matter of public or personal belief. If we are able to inculcate this in our life, you will be the best civil servant in this world. That religion is just a personal belief. It is only tolerance which can take you far. Remember that and learn that if you have to learn something from Bhagat Singh, that it is only tolerance which will take you anywhere. Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev organized the Lahore Students' Union, and they did legal work for the students also. Further, he and his comrades realized that the revolution was not just about revolution of individuals, but an organized mass movement could only give India independence. And he used to always say that the real revolutionary armies are in the villages and in the factories. This again brings him closer to whom? Again, it brings him close to Gandhi, because Gandhi also believed that only masses are the real force, So peasant and workers are the real force. So in a way, a lot of people will say Gandhi versus Bhagat Singh. But now do you get the versus as a very futile concept? There is no versus here. Both are talking about the same thing, but in their own way. But Gandhi says non-violence, but only peasant and workers can get us freedom. He is not saying that I'm do violence. He's saying revolution by the peasant and workers will get us independence. So very simply, it is Gandhi and Bhagat Singh's understanding, not verses. Please remember this point, because as of right now, it's very easy to add verses a lot of places in that regard. So Bhagat Singh's ideology went beyond this concept, and his understanding was not just about peasants and workers. It was more about a revolution by the people, for the people, and coming from the grassroots level itself. With this, we finish the Bhagat Singh section. Now we have to have a very small discussion vis-a-vis Bengal and last major revolutionary action which happened in India. And then we'll close for today. I'll take your 4-5 minutes extra, which is in Bengal. This was more in Punjab, UP North. We have to go to Bengal also. And in Bengal, there's a very important personality, and his name is Surya Sen. So though this is parallel to the CDM, civil disobedience, I do it here because it makes more sense here itself. So after C.R. Das's death in 1925, you have the J.M. Sen Gupta led Congress faction, which also got influenced by Anushilhan. But you also have Subhash Chandra Bose, which was getting the backing of the Yugantar. Basically, Anushilhan and Yugantar were coming back at this point of time. And at this point of time, they had now started to go for the same type of revolutionary action which they had done previously. So Gopinath Saha will actually go and he will assassinate the Calcutta Police Commissioner, Charles Tegard, to send a message that he was a notorious bad personality. However, what is going to happen is that he will shoot the wrong person. His name was Day, rather than killing Tegard. Government will then also put in a lot of heavy ordinances to go heavily after the revolutionaries. And even Subhash Chandra Bose will get arrested during this period. But the person who actually took the revolutionary action to a next level altogether was Surya Sen. Surya Sen, or Master Da as he was called, in the non-corporation movement, he was part of the Congress. He was a teacher in the national school in Chittagong. And between 26 to 28, he was even imprisoned for his activities which he was doing for the Congress in this sector. He was later the secretary of the Chittagong District Congress Committee, admirer of Tagore and Nazrul Islam. He was the one who will gather a force along with him, Anand Singh, Gyanesh Ghosh, and Loknath Baul. Together, they will stage the most significant and biggest raid ever known in Indian history, called the Chittagong Armory Raid. In April of 1930, he will actually choose to challenge the British authority in Chittagong, and along with his associates, he will capture two main armories. Armories means where basically you have the guns and the ammunition. Unfortunately, though he was able to capture the auxiliary force armory, there were guns, but there were no ammunition. That is why they were not able to use it. A group of 6 revolutionaries who will led by Gyanesh Ghosh, will capture the police armory, shouting again Inqilab Zindabad. Down with imperialism, Gandhi Raj has been established. On the other hand, the Loknath Baul will capture the auxiliary force armory, but that will not have, it will only have the guns but no ammunition. And later, the Chittagong Armory raid is considered so important because they will be able to destroy the telegraph lines, the telephone lines, even the railway link was stopped. 65 activists were now technically having an Indian Republican Army Chittagong branch, which were now doing raids on different British institutions. They will even hoist the national flag. They will even proclaim a revolutionary government. And for close to 2.5 years, the British had no control over Chittagong itself. It will only be later when the British will bring in the military that Surya Sen will be caught in February of 1933 and hanged in January of 1934. But what is even more important about him, and this is the last point I'm going to make, is that a lot of women by this point of time, one of you asked me this question, a lot of women by this point of time also had become extremely important revolutionaries. In the Surya Sen Chittagong army itself, there was Kalpana Datta, who was actually arrested and tried with Surya Sen for her actions within the within the Chittagong raid itself. Further, you have Preetilata Vadedar, who actually conducted a raid on the Railway Institute at the same sector itself as part of the Chittagong army. Then in 1931, you have Shanti Ghosh and Suniti Chanderi, two schoolgirls who shot a district magistrate. And in 1932, you have Beena Das, who again fired point blank on the governor of Bengal when she was receiving her degree at convocation. She did a 3-year degree to just go to the convocation to shoot the governor point blank in that regard. So this meant that now revolutionaries were not just men but women. Revolutionary action was going up. With this, I end the discussion for today. I took your 2 minutes. The simple point of the matter is that now we have reached a point where now Indian nationalism will go into a next stage altogether. We will discuss on Monday Dandi March. We'll discuss CDM, roundtable conferences, Irwin Declaration, Gandhi-Irwin Pact, Bhagat Singh and Gandhi, and thereafter reach till Government of India Act 1935. So for 2 days, please just remember 3 very basic things: dominion status, the concept of Nehru Report, and when I come back, why Bhagat Singh was made into an example generally. So with this, I end your class today. Have a very productive Saturday and Sunday. We'll give India independence by Wednesday, and then we go into post-independence, a purely mains area. And I hope everything is making sense generally. And as I said, I'm always trying to add something new to your understanding, something which you will get more out of. Not reading just Bipin Chandra and Sheikh, what is called spectrum, going beyond that. And at least now you know the name of the approvers generally. Thank you. Take care. And I'll see you very soon on Monday, same time. Don't be late. Bye-bye.